Chapter 762. At this moment, Jun Xiaoyao and Yu Yunchang were very close to each other. They could feel each other's breathing. Yu Yunchang's heart was pounding. She felt an unprecedented sense of nervousness and numbness. It was a feeling she had never felt before. Perhaps, this was lust. Oh, no, it was love at first sight. Yu Yunchang even began to imagine the overbearing Son of God falling in love with her. She didn't know that Jun Xiaoyao was only concerned about the hidden bloodline of the Jun family. "Miss you?" Jun Xiaoyao asked. Why did this woman look like she was in a daze? Oh, it's like this. Yu Yunchang came back to her senses, and her cheeks flushed. She then told Jun Xiaoyao everything that she knew about the incident. After listening, Jun Xiaoyao fell into deep thought. Then, he sneered, "I see. It's no longer a conspiracy, but an open one." This information was undoubtedly targeted at him. The 10 princes of Jinwu's methods were no longer a conspiracy. They were clearly expressing that they wanted to trap and kill Jun Xiaoyao. All they had to do was wait for Jun Xiaoyao to come to their door. Jun Xiaoyao's identity was indeed enough to make many people wary. However, the Sun God Mountain, the Gulan cult, and the Dragon King Palace were 3 top immortal forces. They didn't have to be too afraid of the Jun family. They dared to kill Jun Xiaoyao. Of course, the premise was that they had the ability. Hearing this, Yu Yunchang hurriedly waved her hand and said, "Young Master Jun, I'm not in cahoots with them. I'm just telling you this information." Yu Yunchang was afraid that Jun Xiaoyao would misunderstand and think that she deliberately leaked this information to lure Jun Xiaoyao to go there. "Thank you for telling me, Miss Yu." Jun Xiaoyao smiled gently at Yu Yunchang. It was like a spring breeze. Yu Yunchang's pretty face was like a rosy cloud, beautiful beyond compare. This man looked damn good when he smiled. However, after that smile, Jun Xiaoyao's face became expressionless. He gazed into the distance, his eyes filled with endless coldness. He knew that the 10 princes of Jinwu and the others were originally planning to capture the Jun family. The people from the hidden branch of the Jun family were just fish in the pond who were caught in the crossfire. Although the hidden branch has yet to return to the main branch, this is something that will happen sooner or later. Furthermore, their surname is Jun in the future. I will make this Jun surname a surname that no one dares to offend in the 9 heavens and 10 earth. Jun Xiaoyao took a step forward and dashed towards the place where the genius of the hidden branch of the Jun family was trapped. He didn't care about any conspiracy. For Jun Xiaoyao, this was a problem that could be solved with strength. He never thought too much about it. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes and plots were just clown tricks that would only make people laugh. Seeing this, Yu Yunchang hurriedly followed. Brahma was also curious and followed him to observe. As for the rest of the Sky Prides, there was no need to talk about them. How could they miss such a show? Hurry up and follow them. I heard that the 10 princes of Jinwu, Sheng Tianyi of the Sacred Sect, and the young Dragon King of the Dragon King Palace are all there. This is going to be a good show. A large number of Sky Prides soared into the sky, covering the sky like black clouds, and followed closely behind. This was different from the battle between Jun Xiaoyao and Qin Wudao. The 10 princes of Jinwu, Sheng Tianyi, and the young Dragon King, Shen Yi. Among them, none of them were weaker than Qin Wudao. They were all geniuses who were the focus of attention on the ancient road of the ultimate path and the core successors of various immortal forces. No one was confident that they could suppress the 3 of them. However, Jun Xiaoyao was too calm after hearing the news. It was as if he didn't take the 3 of them seriously at all. They then recalled that he had defeated Qin Wudao in 3 moves. Everyone felt that a shocking battle was about to unfold. Just as Jun Xiaoyao was rushing to the location in the news, at the place where the genius of the hidden branch of the Jun family was trapped, hundreds and thousands of cultivators had already gathered around them. They looked at the geniuses of the hidden branch of the Jun family in the killing array with a trace of pity in their eyes. The Jun family's main branch and hidden branch were both members of the Jun family, but the gap between them was so big. The Son of God of the main branch of the Jun family had swept through the entire ancient road of the ultimate path. He was known as the taboo of the taboo, and no one dared to provoke him. However, The hidden branch of the Jun family was so miserable, trapped in the killing array and struggling to survive. The gap was so big that it made people sigh. A cultivator shook his head and said, "The hidden branch of the Jun family is very particular about hiding from the world and keeping a low profile. However, they still can't avoid such a fate." Compared to the main branch of the Jun family, the hidden branch of the Jun family seemed to be too low-key. After pretending to be a pig for so long, they really became a pig. That's not necessarily true. The top geniuses of the hidden branch of the Jun family haven't arrived yet. Some people had reservations. Jun Yinhuang and Jun Qingyang of the hidden branch of the Jun family might not be famous, but they were definitely powerful. They just kept a low profile. In the killing array, only 4 or 5 geniuses of the hidden branch of the Jun family were left. They were all covered in wounds. The 10 princes of Jinwu and the others didn't take the initiative to attack them. However, the killing array alone was enough to threaten them. It was already very good that they could hold on for so long. Cough, Jun Lanche's blue dress was torn in many places, revealing her snow-white skin. Against the bright red blood, it was particularly glaring. If this continues, we won't be able to hold on for long. Jun Lanche's blue eyes revealed a trace of despair. Not to mention whether they could break the killing array. Even if they could, the 10 princes of Jinwu and the others wouldn't let them go. Hold on. As long as we can hold on until Brother Yinhuang arrives, we can live. Jun Xuanming's face was pale and he was injured. You didn't say hello to them when you came out. You snuck out. Jun Lanche glared at Jun Xuanming with her beautiful eyes. If she had known this would be the result, she would have rejected them directly. But now, it was useless to regret. How would I know that we would be targeted? It's all because of Jun Xiaoyaro from the main branch. We were completely implicated. Jun Xuanming gritted his teeth and said angrily. He felt that if Jun Xiaoyaro hadn't provoked so many enemies, they wouldn't have been implicated. The hidden branch wouldn't have been implicated. Hearing this, Jun Lanche really didn't know what to say. Jun Xuanming didn't hate the 10 princes of Jinwu and the others who trapped and killed them. Instead, he hated Jun Xiaoyaro, who made the Jun family famous. Jun Lanche didn't want to waste her breath anymore. If she could get through this crisis, she swore that she would never have any interaction with people like Jun Xuanming again. But Jun Lanche felt the empty spiritual power in her body and revealed a bitter smile. It would be difficult for her to get through this obstacle. Outside the killing array, the 3 figures stood in the air like ancient suns, releasing endless brilliance and pressure. They were the 10 princes of Jinwu, Sheng Tianyi, and Little Dragon King Xian Yi. In addition, there were the remaining 4 princes of the Sun God Mountain, as well as some prodigies of the Gulan sect and the Dragon King Palace guarding the periphery. 10th Prince, it's been so long, but no one from the Jun family has come. Little Dragon King Xian Yi of the Dragon King Palace frowned. He was wearing a golden dragon armor and holding a golden dragon spear. He was surrounded by dragon chi and his aura was extremely strong. That's right. I haven't looked for other opportunities yet. If we stay here for too long, it will undoubtedly be a waste, Sheng Tianyi said in a grave tone. There were many opportunities in the buried Emperor Star. If they stayed here for too long, it would undoubtedly be a waste. I believe that if he gets the news, he will definitely come. Moreover, if we don't make a move now, it will be even more difficult to suppress him later, the 10 princes of Jinwu said in a deep voice. He felt that no matter how much time they wasted, as long as they could kill Jun Xiaoyaro, everything would be worth it. But this group of baits can't last for too long. Xian Yi looked at the killing array. Another prodigy of the Jun family's hidden branch was turned into a bloody pulp by the killing array. Jun Xuanming saw this scene and fear appeared in his eyes. It was the fear of death. As a member of the Jun family's hidden branch, he had always been very proud. But now, he realized that the identity of the Jun family's hidden branch didn't have the power to deter people. It was very simple. The influence of the Jun family's hidden branch was far inferior to the Jun family's main branch. If it weren't for the Jun family's name, many people would have forgotten about them. At this moment, endless killing lights appeared in the killing array again. The target this time was Jun Lanche. Chapter 763. In the killing array, the killing light was overflowing. Jun Lanshi, who had been targeted, was extremely pale at this moment. She felt that she could not hold on anymore. No one could come to save her. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The killing light was like a sharp blade, tearing the void apart and slashing toward Jun Lanshi. Jun Lanshi gritted her teeth. Even if there was no hope, she would not give up. Because her surname was Jun, this was the pride of the Jun family. She would rather die standing than live kneeling. Just as Jun Lanshi gathered all the remaining spiritual power in her body and was about to fight to the death. In the distant sky, there was a roaring sound. 1,000-foot-long crack was torn open in the vast void. Then, a giant thunderbolt finger, like a heavenly pillar, came out from it. Wherever it passed, the thunderbolt was everywhere. The huge mountain was directly smashed by the thunderbolt and turned into dust. It was the Thunder Emperor's finger. This finger fell directly on the killing array. The killing array that Jun Lanshi and the others could not break with all their efforts collapsed inch by inch under this finger. All kinds of array runes were obliterated, and the killing light dissipated. This sudden scene made all the surrounding geniuses stunned for a moment. This array was personally set up by the 10 princes of Jinwu and the others. Its power was needless to say. But now, it was annihilated by a finger. Could it be that Brother Yin Huang is here? Jun Xuanming's eyes were filled with extreme surprise. This feeling of escaping from a dead end was really a bit exciting. Jun Lanchi's face was also relaxed, and her heart was greatly relieved. However, she also had doubts. Logically speaking, Jun Yinhuang and the others should not have received the news so quickly after they sneaked out. Could it be? Jun Lanchi seemed to have thought of something. She looked at the void crack, and her beautiful eyes flashed with unprecedented splendor. Oh, he's here. The 10 princes of Jinwu, Sheng Tianyi, Little Dragon King, Xian Yi all looked over at the same time. A fairy-like figure in white walked out of the void crack calmly with his hands behind his back. The moment he took the first step, his aura overturned all directions. The mountains and rivers under his feet all collapsed and collapsed. This aura shook heaven and earth. Every move seemed to be able to affect the order of heaven and earth. It was the aura of a big boss. The 3 top-notch outlawed sky prides, who were initially calm, had a serious look in their eyes when they sensed this aura. You dare to attack my Jun family? It seems that you're tired of living. His indifferent words carried a hint of coldness. Even in the face of these 3 top-level outlawed sky prides, his attitude remained aloof. The son of God of the Jun family is here. When the heaven's favorites saw the immortal energy around the figure, they couldn't help but exclaim in shock. It was as if a legendary figure had appeared in front of him. That feeling was incomparably wonderful. In the distance, Yu Yunchang, Fan Tian, and a large group of sky prides who were watching the show were also rushing over. They couldn't miss the show today. Brother Xiao Yao. When she saw the peerless figure clearly, Jun Lanchi couldn't help but feel excited. The one who came to save them was neither Jun Yin Emperor nor Jun Qingyang. It was the only son of God of the main bloodline, Sequence 0, Jun Xiaoyao. Although the hidden bloodline didn't show themselves in the world, they knew everything about Jun Xiaoyao. Jun Lanchi had been imagining the appearance of this clan brother through all kinds of news before. Now, it seemed that it was far beyond her imagination. 2 words. Stunning. Although there were many outstanding sky prides in the hidden bloodline, there were even top-notch figures like Jun Yin Emperor. However, compared to the peerless white-robed Jun Xiaoyao in front of them, it seemed that they were nothing. The remaining sky prides of the hidden bloodline also had a look of joy on their faces after surviving a disaster. Only Jun Xianming was frowning. Although he had to admit that the figure in front of him was more outstanding than he had imagined, whether in terms of posture or bearing. This is his fault. He should be the one to save us. Why are you thanking him like this? Jun Xianming muttered. Jun Lanchi and the others didn't hear him. Their eyes were now focused on Jun Xiaoyao. Jun Xiaoyao glanced at Jun Lanchi and the others. This was the first time he saw the sky prides of the hidden bloodline. They weren't weak. They were probably at the level of Jun Zhanjian and the others. Jun Xiaoyaro estimated that the top-notch sky prides of the Jun family's hidden bloodline were probably at the level of Jun Lingcang. As for himself, Jun Xiaoyaro wasn't blowing his own trumpet. He believed that in the entire Jun family's hidden bloodline, there was no one in the world who could fight with him. That's right. No one was even qualified to fight with him. You guys take a rest first. The blood of the Jun family won't be shed in vain. Looking at the bones of the sky prides of the Jun family's hidden bloodline, Jun Xiaoyao's tone was cold and murderous. The Jun family's hidden bloodline was particular about not fighting with the world. However, Jun Xiaoyaro wasn't. It was only right to pay with one's life for killing. Not only that, the Jun family's main bloodline had also exterminated many families. In one word, it was over. Listening to Jun Xiaoyao's murderous words, the eyes of Jun Lanshi and the others were even brighter. This kind of ruthless method was what she wanted to see. The Jun family's son of God lived up to his name. No wonder he's so good at causing trouble and even implicating us, Jun Shenming muttered in his heart. Jun Xiaoyao, you're finally here. An extremely cold voice sounded. It came from the 10 princes of Jinwu. Excluding the Dharma body, this was the first time the 10 princes of Jinwu had met Jun Xiaoyaro in person. However, the hatred between them had reached a point where it was completely irreconcilable. Jun Xiaoyaro saved Yu Chanhuan and destroyed the 10 princes of Jinwu's dream of cultivating the acquired chaotic body. 5 of the 10 princes of Jinwu had died directly or indirectly at the hands of Jun Xiaoyaro. His Dharma body was even destroyed by Jun Xiaoyaro with one stomp. It could be said that the new and old hatred added up made it so that there was no room for reconciliation between him and Jun Xiaoyao. Between the two of them, there was only one death. Otherwise, it would not end. Only you can come up with such a clumsy method. Jun Xiaoyao's tone was indifferent. But you still came, didn't you? The 10 princes of Jinwu's eyes began to burn with the sun's true fire. Wrong. It's not that I, the Son of God, was baited by you. It's that I, the Son of God, came here to kill. Although Jun Xiaoyao's tone was calm, the murderous intent was enough to change the color of heaven and earth. Hearing this, all the surrounding geniuses could not help but sigh. He was still as domineering as ever. Jun Xiaoyao, your arrogance is indeed as rumored. Sheng Tianyi also spoke. He was dressed in a sacred robe and was incomparably aloof. Wisps of power of faith twined around his body. The little Dragon King of the Dragon King Palace, Xian Yi, had an evil and wild crooked smile on his face. Jun Xiaoyao, you're still so arrogant in front of the three of us. I think you're blind. Chapter 764. Jun Xiaoyao turned to look at the young Dragon King. When he saw the crooked smile on his face, he raised his eyebrows. He raised his eyebrows and asked, Crooked Mouth Dragon King? Xian Yi naturally did not understand the meaning behind Jun Xiaoyao's words, but he could hear the sarcasm in them. Your mouth is crooked. You should get it fixed. You. Xian Yi raised his eyebrows and said coldly, Jun Xiaoyao, you'll pay the price for underestimating the heroes of the world. Heroes of the world? Jun Xiaoyao laughed. The world is vast. Who else can do it but me? With my head held high, no one can stop me. A single sentence was enough to shake the entire universe. He was the only one in the world. The others were just there for show. Facing the 3 top outlawed sky prides, Jun Xiaoyao was still carefree and unrestrained. He did not change his wild nature. However, at this moment, most of the spectating sky prides could not refute him. That was because Jun Xiaoyao was not just arrogant. His every move, every battle record, proved what he had said. An eternal taboo, unparalleled in the world. Yu Yunchang clasped her hands and placed them in front of her chest. There was a dazed look in her beautiful eyes. Beauties loved heroes. That was an unchanging law. Jun Lanchi's heart trembled. She was used to keeping a low profile in the Jun family's hidden lineage. Only now did she realize that a person could be arrogant to such an extent. This kind of life was exciting. How arrogant. Today, I'll personally crush your dreams. The 10 princes of Jinwu could not stand it anymore and was the first to make a move. He could not stand that someone was better at showing off than him. The 10 princes of Jinwu casually stretched out his hand, and the monstrous true sun fire swept out. The Golden Crow clan was blessed by the heavens. They were born with the pure yang fire Dao constitution. The 10 princes of Jinwu even had the legendary Holy Sun constitution. Rumor had it that when he was born, true fire descended from the heavens and cleansed his meridians. The shadow of the ancient Golden Crow circled around his body. That was why the 10 princes of Jinwu was believed to have some resemblance to the Golden Crow Emperor. Throughout his cultivation journey, there were indeed very few who could match him. With the addition of the 10 crown princes, no one would dare to provoke them wherever they went. But now, the Golden Crows had encountered a tough opponent. No one had the right to be arrogant in front of Jun Xiaoyao. It was the same even for the Golden Crows. Looking at the 10 princes of Jinwu charging towards him with true fire, Jun Xiaoyao calmly raised his hand. Similarly, monstrous flames surged out. This flame was multicolored, as if it contained all kinds of strange flames in the world. Its degree of heat was no less than the primordial fire of the 10 princes of Jinwu. It was the Tushi ancient divinity flame that Jun Xiaoyao had signed in earlier. What kind of flame is that? It's actually not any weaker than the 10th prince's grand sun primordial flame. And I've never heard of the son of God of the Jun family controlling such a powerful flame. Many of the spectators were a little confused. Because Jun Xiaoyao did not use the Tushi ancient divinity flame often, many people did not know that Jun Xiaoyao had such a technique. This made Jun Xiaoyao even more mysterious in the eyes of the spectators. He doesn't use such a powerful technique. The son of God of the Jun family has hidden it too well. I guess in the eyes of the son of God, this technique is probably nothing. Many people were amazed. Jun Xiaoyao did not use this technique often, but it was a trump card that many people dreamed of. Seeing this, the 10 princes of Jinwu snorted coldly and changed his technique again. Dazzling saint force of the sun burst out from his body, as if a divine sun had exploded. Sacred sun power was a terrifying power that belonged to the Golden Crows. It gathered the power of the sun and burned everything in the world. Golden Crow blazing sun palm. The 10 princes of Jinwu blasted out with his palm. The dazzling sacred sun power turned into a golden crow and blasted out with his palm. The void was about to be burned and collapsed. A hint of mockery flashed in Jun Xiaoyao's eyes. Anyone who dared to meet his fists and palms was an idiot to the extreme. Jun Xiaoyao clenched his fist and used the Kuan Peng's grand magic. The tip of his fist carried monstrous runes. It was like a Kuan Peng leaping into the sea and swinging its tail. But what was different from before was that there were traces of silver sacred sun power circulating in Jun Xiaoyao's fist. This made the 10 princes of Jinwu's expression change drastically. This sacred sun power was not unfamiliar to him. He had seen it on the Moon God Palace's holy maiden, Yu Chanhuan. Could it be? The 10 princes of Jinwu thought of something, and his eyes flashed with jealousy and anger. Boom! The moment their fists and palms collided, the 10 princes of Jinwu's originally furious expression suddenly turned into shock. A terrifying divine power that seemed to be able to shatter the heavens came from Jun Xiaoyao's fist. It was accompanied by the Kuan Peng's grand magic and the sacred sun power. This punch was simply restraining him to death. Crack! A series of bone-cracking sounds could be heard. The 10 princes of Jinwu's arm directly exploded, and his bones and blood splattered. The reddish-gold blood was as hot as magma. It splashed out and scattered on the ground, corroding a large black hole. The 10 princes of Jinwu spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated rapidly. He had suffered a great loss. When the surrounding cultivators saw this scene, they could not help but gasp. This was the Golden Crow 10th prince whose name shook the entire ancient road. He had the sacred sun body and was said to have some traces of the Golden Crow the Arch. In the end, his arm was shattered by Jun Xiaoyao's punch in the first exchange. This was absolutely horrifying. Jun Xiaoyao's strength was beyond everyone's imagination. On the other hand, Yu Yunchang, Fan Tian, and the other sky prides who followed behind him were shocked. After witnessing Jun Xiaoyao defeating Qin Wudao in 3 moves, they were no longer shocked. Sheng Tianyi and Xian Yi narrowed their eyes when they saw the scene before them. They suddenly felt that they had severely underestimated Zhang Xiaoyao's strength. After all, they were all top-notch outlawed sky prides. Before they fought, who would think that the other party was much stronger than them? At this moment, the 10 princes of Jinwu's body swayed. Although he had suffered a great loss and his arm had been shattered. However, this was secondary. He stared at Zhang Xiaoyaro with eyes as bright as the sun and said angrily, "How can you use the Taiyin sacred energy? Could it be that you and Yu Chanhuan had the Taiyin sacred constitution and was able to use the Taiyin sacred energy since birth? This kind of power was opposite to the Sun sacred energy, but it was also a kind of fusion. The 10 princes of Jinwu had done everything he could to obtain Yu Chanhuan. He even let the Sun God Mountain start the immortal war and attacked the Moon God's palace. Through dual cultivation with Yu Chanhuan, the Taiyin sacred energy and Taiyin sacred energy merged and evolved into the chaotic constitution. However, Zhang Xiaoyaro had now used the Taiyin sacred energy. There was no need to doubt what this meant. Then, they thought about how Zhang Xiaoyaro had saved Yu Chanhuan. Everything was clear without words. It made sense. At that moment of despair, a peerless sky pride with perfect looks, background, and strength would save the damsel in distress. There was no woman who would not be moved. Moreover, Yu Chanhuan urgently needed to find someone to rely on. Zhang Xiaoyaro was undoubtedly the perfect person to rely on. As for the bargaining chip, it could only be Yu Chanhuan's first cauldron constitution, the Taiyin sacred constitution. Thinking of this, the 10 princes of Jinwu almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He was prepared to capture Yu Chanhuan again if he could kill Zhang Xiaoyaro this time. Now, it was too late. The Taiyin sacred constitution was the strongest the first time. After that, the effect would weaken a little, and it would be even more difficult to evolve into the chaotic constitution. Thinking about how his target had been defeated by Zhang Xiaoyaro, the 10 princes of Jinwu was so angry that he was about to suffer internal injuries. His dream of the chaotic constitution was almost shattered. It was almost impossible to find another sacred body of Taiyin. Looking at the 10 princes of Jinwu's angry expression, his face turned green. Zhang Xiaoyaro understood in an instant. There was also a hint of mockery in his eyes. Chapter 765. Zhang Xiaoyaro knew what the 10 princes of Jinwu was thinking. It was none other than the lunar sacred power that he had just used. This lunar sacred power was indeed obtained by Zhang Xiaoyaro from Yu Chanhuan. However, it was not obtained through dual cultivation with Yu Chanhuan. Although Yu Chanhuan really wanted to stick to him. However, Zhang Xiaoyaro was not that casual. He obtained the Lunar Immortal Sutra from Yu Chanhuan. Although Zhang Xiaoyaro did not specifically go into seclusion to comprehend the Lunar Immortal Sutra. However, he would take some time out to casually flip through it. There was no need to mention Zhang Xiaoyao's comprehension ability. Even the ancient Chaos Emperor would call him a monster. To ordinary people, the Immortal Sutra was like a heavenly book. However, to Zhang Xiaoyaro, comprehending it was as simple as drinking water and eating. Through these fragmented times, although Zhang Xiaoyaro did not completely comprehend the Lunar Immortal Sutra. However, he had also cultivated the lunar sacred power. Just now, when he saw the 10 princes of Jinwu use the solar sacred power, Zhang Xiaoyaro wanted to take it out and examine it. He did not expect that this would cause the 10 princes of Jinwu to misunderstand and think that he was dual cultivating with Yu Chanhuan. Of course, Zhang Xiaoyaro did not have any intention of explaining. Instead, a cold and mocking smile appeared on his face. After all, killing someone's heart. Killing someone's heart was more interesting than killing someone. Seeing Zhang Xiaoyao's mocking smile, the 10 princes of Jinwu was even more certain of his judgment. He could not help but burn with anger and could not control his emotions. The price of obtaining Yu Chanhuan was a huge immortal battle. Now, Zhang Xiaoyaro had taken advantage of it. Was the 10 princes of Jinwu angry? Zhang Xiaoyaro, you will pay the price for ruining my plans, the 10 princes of Jinwu bellowed. True fire spewed out from his broken arm. Then, under everyone's astonished gazes, a perfectly intact arm actually grew out directly. The 10 princes of Jinwu were born to be tempered by the primordial fire. Coupled with the holy body of the sun, his physical body is unparalleled. It's a pity that he ran into a sacred body of the ancients. Many geniuses sighed. The physical body of the 10 princes of Jinwu was definitely strong. Not only did he have the holy body of the sun, but he had also been cleansed since birth and had been tempered by the true fire all year round. Even severed limbs could be regenerated instantly. Unfortunately, he had encountered an existence with an even more monstrous physical body. The 10 princes of Jinwu let out a long cry, and a pair of golden wings appeared on his back. This was a pair of golden crow wings, which had been refined into a secret treasure by the 10 princes of Jinwu. He flapped his wings, and a golden aura flowed. His body was like a golden bolt of lightning as he rushed toward Jun Xiaoyao. The shadow of a Kuanpeng also appeared on Jun Xiaoyao's body. He stepped on the Kuanpeng's extreme speed, and his speed was not weak either. Boom! The two of them collided like meteors, splashing tens of thousands of runes. The void trembled, and a huge crack spread out in the center of the collision. The 10 princes of Jinwu activated the sacred power of the sun, and at the same time, he used the great magic of the Sun God Mountain. The rolling sacred power of the sun surged, condensing into one blazing magic ball after another around the 10 princes of Jinwu. If one counted carefully, there were a total of 10 of them. They were like suns, scorching and threatening. The great magic of the Sun God Mountain, 10 suns in the sky. This was the forbidden great magic of the Sun God Mountain, taken from the legend of the 10 golden crows in the sky. However, in that legend, 9 of the 10 golden crows were shot down by the great emperor of the Yi clan. However, when this magic was used, it was still extremely terrifying. The temperature between heaven and earth instantly rose, and the mountains and rivers melted into magma. All kinds of fire runes were branded in the void, and it was a scene of burning the world. All the surrounding sky prides began to retreat. When the immortals fought, the mortals suffered. They might be injured by the aftershocks if they were just a little bit closer. This was the terror of a battle between top-notch sky prides. Sheng Tianyi, Xian Yi, and the others did not move for the time being. They were carefully observing the battle. They were also using the 10 princes of Jinwu to measure Jun Xiaoyao's true combat strength. Facing the 10 princes of Jinwu's ultimate move, Jun Xiaoyao calmly dealt with it. He slowly raised a hand, and endless explosive lightning energy spread out. The surging lightning energy gathered to form stars that flickered with blinding lightning. It was the most powerful move of the Lightning Emperor's great magic, lightning stars. The magic ball, which was as scorching as the sun, collided violently with the lightning star. Lightning and fire, both of these were extremely explosive powers. At this moment, the collision shook heaven and earth. Lightning radiance spread, and flames swept across. Just the aftershocks alone were enough to severely injure some of the weaker sky prides. Jun Xiaoyao's figure suddenly moved forward. Before the aftershocks could reach him, they had all disappeared. This was the ability of Dharmic power immunity. 6 paths of reincarnation Phys. Jun Xiaoyao decisively used his ultimate move. He did not have the time to waste with these people. It was as if he had overturned heaven and earth with one punch. The 6 paths of reincarnation were like 6 small universes pressing down. The 6 paths of reincarnation fist was a supreme fist technique. Even the chaotic ancient mental demon was surprised when he saw it. Moreover, the power of this fist technique could increase as Jun Xiaoyao's strength increased. It had always been Jun Xiaoyao's ultimate move. It was as if heaven and earth had been turned upside down. Accompanied by the reincarnation immortal Qi, the power of this punch was shocking. The 10 princes of Jinwu's eyes were filled with shock. He hurriedly took out his trump card. A golden treasure wheel appeared, exuding a powerful aura. It was as if a sun had been taken out. It was the Boundary Emperor weapon, the Sun Treasure Wheel. This was the weapon that the 10 princes of Jinwu had refined for a long time. Although he could not unleash its full power now, it was still a Boundary Emperor. However, a quasi-emperor weapon was still a quasi-emperor weapon, and its power was not to be underestimated. This punch landed on the Sun Treasure Wheel. The Boundary Emperor weapon blocked part of the fist's power. However, A portion of the power still vibrated out and landed on the 10 princes of Jinwu. Splat! The 10 princes of Jinwu spat out blood again. His arms that were holding the sun treasure wheel cracked and almost shattered again. Seeing this scene, there was dead silence in all directions. The 10 princes of Jinwu, who had taken out the boundary emperor weapon, was actually at a disadvantage. Zhun Xiaoyao's battle power was extremely strong. After the battle with the chaotic ancient mental demon, he had inherited most of the chaotic ancient mental demon's battle experience. Ferocious, cunning, and overwhelming. Boom, boom, boom. The fist radiance was earth-shattering. One punch after another, its power stacked like waves. The 10 princes of Jinwu could not fight back at all. He was beaten until he coughed out blood and several of his ribs were broken. That's enough, Zhun Xiaoyao. Don't be so arrogant. Seeing the 10 princes of Jinwu being suppressed, the young Dragon King, Xian Yi, could no longer hold back. Although they had planned this together before. After all, the 3 of them were the top outlawed sky prides on the ancient road of the ultimate path. They were also the core successors of immortal orthodoxies and Archean royalty. If the 3 of them attacked together, even if they defeated Zhun Xiaoyao, it would not be praiseworthy. They would lose face. Therefore, they did not think that they would attack together at first. However, looking at the 10 princes of Jinwu who was completely at a disadvantage and could not fight back at all, they could not help but feel helpless. Xian Yi could not stand it anymore. If the 10 princes of Jinwu were to die, the situation would be even more disadvantageous for them. They were not fools. They would not watch Zhun Xiaoyao defeat them one by one. You finally can't help but attack. Zhun Xiaoyao was not surprised. Chmph, the winner takes all. Dead people have no right to speak. Xian Yi was not affected. He held the golden dragon spear in his hand and thrust it forward. A dragon's roar shook the sky and set off a golden ripple that was 10,000 feet long. Chapter 766. The Dragon King Palace was also an ancient immortal orthodoxy. It was formed by a group of dragons. Zulong of the Huangtian mystic realm, the dragon-human clan of the immortal ancient world, and the mysterious ancient void dragon clan were all branches of the dragon bloodline. During the Immortal War, when Zulong was almost destroyed, the boundary emperors of the Dragon King Palace also joined in. However, they were stopped by the boundary emperors of the Zhun family who were drifting in the depths of space. It was also because of this that the two forces had a conflict. Zhun Xiaoyao also decided that he would not show mercy to these immortal orthodoxies. Those who dared to provoke the Zhun family would only die. At this moment, the young Dragon King, Xian Yi, made his move. The golden dragon spear in his hand seemed to be able to pierce through the heavens. Various golden dragon patterns appeared on it, and its power was extremely terrifying. I heard that when the young Dragon King of the Dragon King Palace was born, 2 golden dragons descended from the heavens. One of them turned into a golden spear while the other turned into a golden armor. These are the golden dragon spear and golden dragon armor. Sensing the power of Xian Yi's attack, a sky pride said. These top-notch outlawed sky prides were born extraordinary. They had all kinds of strange phenomena and opportunities. They were born to be dragons and phoenixes among men. One could say that the spear and armor were divine weapons bestowed by the heavens. If they were cultivated in the future, they would definitely have the potential to become emperor weapons. Moreover, because they were divine weapons, Xian Yi could fully unleash their power. Unlike the 10 princes of Jinwu, who could not unleash the true power of the sun-treasured wheel even if they tried their best to refine it. Seeing the golden dragon spear coming at him, Zhun Xiaoyao simply stretched out his hand and flicked his fingers, colliding with the golden dragon spear. Xian Yi's eyes flashed with anger when he saw this. Zhun Xiaoyao was underestimating him. However, before Xian Yi could berate him, a shocking sound of metal colliding rang out. Zhun Xiaoyao's fingers collided with the golden dragon spear. It was as if 2 metals had collided, and intense sparks were produced. Zhun Xiaoyao's physical body was not inferior to a divine weapon. Zhun Xiaoyao flicked his fingers, and the sharp immortal slaughtering sword Qi burst out. In a short period of time, it clashed with the golden dragon spear hundreds to thousands of times. After that, The golden dragon spear was sent flying, and Xian Yi also stumbled back several thousand feet. His arm was already numb. He couldn't help but take a deep breath as his heart trembled violently. The dragon clan was famous for their powerful physical bodies. Some ancient emperors of the dragon race could even completely suppress great emperors of the human race in terms of their physical bodies. But now, in terms of physical strength, he was completely suppressed by a human. Is this how terrifying the complete version of the sacred body of the ancients is? All the geniuses widened their eyes, unable to calm down. The news that Jun Xiaoyaro possessed a saint physique with 10 shackles severed back on the desolate star Conqueror star had already spread. When the news spread, there were still some cultivators who couldn't believe it. That was because the decline of the sacred body of the ancients was due to the shackles of the heavenly law. How could it be broken so easily? But now, after seeing Jun Xiaoyao's freakishly strong physical body, they really believed it. Only a complete sacred body with 10 severed shackles could be so freakishly strong. Compared to the shock of others, Jun Xiaoyaro himself was extremely calm. Not only did he cultivate all kinds of physical techniques, but he also reforged his body with the myriad qi in the bronze immortal palace. He already had the potential to become an emperor with his physical body. This kind of performance was not surprising. Again, Xian Yi was naturally unwilling to give up. The dragon blood in his body boiled, and he attacked again with his spear. As the golden dragon spear swept across, it cut through the void. Golden light flowed, and illusory dragon shadows appeared one after another. As if the exit of the dragon world had been opened, countless dragon shadows rushed out and roared at Jun Xiaoyaro. Seeing this, Jun Xiaoyaro still simply pointed his finger. Stalks of grass swayed in the void. The leaves had 9 leaves, and mysterious patterns spread on them. As the leaves trembled, sword chi split the sky. It's the grass symbol sword art. Some cultivators fixed their eyes on it. I heard that the inheritance of the grass symbol sword art was in the Fushi Immortal Systems dojo, but Jiu Tiezi didn't fully comprehend it. Instead, the Jun family's son of God's body comprehended it in a few days. Many of the people present knew about this matter. This was another thing Jiu Tiezi had embarrassed himself in. Many people were amazed at Jun Xiaoyao's speed of comprehension. But if they knew that Jun Xiaoyaro had comprehended ancient Chaos Emperor's forbidden art in just 7 days, they would be amazed. They probably wouldn't be amazed by the grass symbol sword art. The sword chi was as thick as a mountain ridge, tearing the sky and earth apart. A strand of sword chi could cut through the sun, moon, and stars, let alone now. Jun Xiaoyao's sword finger swept out, and the world seemed to be cut into countless pieces by the sword chi. Boom, boom, boom. The dragon shadow and the sword chi collided, and the light was dazzling. It was like endless fireworks, and the place was extremely dazzling. But the terrifying thing was that the ripples of each of the fireworks were enough to kill a sage-to-be expert. Jun Xiaoyaro did not move an inch during the clash of such extreme moves, as if he was standing tall like a monument. On the other hand, Xian Yi was knocked back again. The blood in his chest was boiling, and his face was flushed. If it weren't for the golden dragon armor, he might be in a worse situation. How can this be? Xian Yi didn't want to believe it. He was the young dragon king of the Dragon King Palace, and he had almost never tasted defeat. But now, he was being suppressed by Jun Xiaoyaro again and again. Jun Xiaoyao's eyes were indifferent. He stepped on the Kuan Peng and flashed in front of Xian Yi, punching him hard. Golden qi and blood surged into the sky, slapping the heavens like waves. This was the power of the sacred body of the ancients. His body was unparalleled. Who could stop him? Xian Yi held the golden dragon spear horizontally and blocked Jun Xiaoyao's punch. The golden dragon spear, which was extremely hard, was bent by Jun Xiaoyao's punch. The punch landed on Xian Yi's chest. Fart. Xian Yi felt like he was being trampled by a primordial ferocious beast. Cracking sounds came from his sternum. His body retreated into the distance like a cannonball. Jun Xiaoyaro, on the other hand, used his Kuan Peng steps again to catch up with Xian Yi. He then slapped Xian Yi's handsome face hard. I told you that your crooked mouth is an illness. It's time to treat it. Smack. A resounding slap almost shattered half of Xian Yi's face. Broken teeth flew everywhere, and blood flowed out of his mouth. He fell to the ground, creating a canyon-like crater in the ground. Everyone was so shocked that their scalps went numb. They were speechless. The young Dragon King of the Dragon King Palace, Xian Yi, was slapped by Jun Xiaoyaro like he was his grandson. This was King ridiculous. This young Dragon King can't be fake, right? Someone couldn't help but ask in a daze. Yu Yunchang covered her red lips with her jade-like hand. Her eyes were shining like never before. Jun Lanche's heart was also not calm. She took a deep breath, and her full chest rose and fell. Brother Xiaoyao, how strong is he? Jun Lanche couldn't imagine at all. She had initially thought that Jun Xiaoyaro was only capable of taking them away with ease, even if he was there. From the looks of it, what Jun Xiaoyaro said before was not just an act after all. He was here to kill. Even Jun Shenming, who disliked Jun Xiaoyaro, was speechless at this moment as if his throat was blocked. What you hear may be false, but what you see is true. He now understood that comparing Jun Yinhuang and Jun Qingyang with Jun Xiaoyaro was ridiculous. It was indeed a little ridiculous. Chapter 767. Little Dragon King Xian Yi of the Dragon King Palace was one of the most powerful sky prides on the ancient road of ultimate destination. Logically speaking, at this level, who could be stronger than the other? Even if there was a winner and a loser, the difference wouldn't be too big. Furthermore, he wouldn't be crushed and slapped like he was now. Half of his face was smashed, and it was too horrible to look at. Jun Xiaoyao's expression was cold and indifferent. His method was extremely decisive. He didn't care about his opponent's identity and directly stomped his foot down. It was like the foot of a divine king that could destroy the world as he stomped on Xian Yi, who was in the deep pit. Boom! At this moment, Sheng Tianyi made his move. At this moment, his expression was extremely solemn. He wasn't as relaxed as before. A Lanchuo seal. Sheng Tianyi, who was wearing a sacred robe, formed a seal with one hand and suppressed it. This was the great mystic seal of the ancient Orchid sect. When this seal landed, all heretics would be afraid. Jun Xiaoyaro stretched out his hand, and a pitch-black devouring vortex appeared. It was like the mouth of an abyss and directly swallowed the seal. Sheng Tianyi and Jun Xiaoyaro once again fought. They've made their move. All three of them have made their move. Many sky prides were a little dazed. The 10 princes of Jinwu, Xian Yi, and Sheng Tianyi had all made their move. This wasn't a team of weaklings. Each of them was a taboo existence that had dominated the ancient road of ultimate destination and had the blood of countless sky prides on their hands. Now, they actually needed to work together to deal with Jun Xiaoyaro. It could be said that until now, no sky prides on the ancient road of ultimate destination had such an honor. Jun Xiaoyaro was the first. It's really a team fight against a boss. Jun Xiaoyao's lips curled into a cold smile. According to the usual routine, the protagonist and his brothers would work together to defeat the villain boss. But now, the boss was himself. Jun Xiaoyaro didn't care. Only cows and sheep would form a herd. Beasts would always move alone. Jun Xiaoyao, being alive is everything. A dead legend is not a legend. The 10 princes of Jinwu shouted coldly. Xian Yi's intervention just now had allowed the 10 princes of Jinwu to regain their composure and adjust their breathing for a while. Above the 10 princes of Jinwu, the sun wheel rotated on its own, emitting a blazing divine radiance. At the same time, he took out 36 crimson gold flags with ancient golden crows embroidered on them. As the flags fluttered, they arranged themselves in the air, forming a formation that surrounded Jun Xiaoyao. That's the Golden Crow Burning Sky flag. Seeing the 36 Golden Crow flags in the sky, many geniuses thought of some rumors and couldn't help but reveal a deep sense of fear in their eyes. This was a terrifying technique unique to the Sun God Mountain. It was rumored that there were a total of 3,600 Golden Crow Burning Sky flags. If a formation was laid out, it would be enough to melt a giant ancient star in an instant. The Golden Crow Burning Sky banner had the battle record of burning a quasi-emperor to death. Of course, that was the result of the super mighty of the Sun God Mountain using the complete Golden Crow Burning Sky flag. The 36 golden crow burning sky flags in front of them were considered miniature versions. However, it was still terrifying enough. When the 10 princes of Jinwu used it, it could even pose a great threat to a great saint expert. The 36 golden crow burning sky flags surrounded Jun Xiaoyao. As the flags fluttered, blazing true sun fire poured down in torrents, turning the area where Jun Xiaoyao was into a sea of fire. Even the void was about to collapse, as if it wanted to turn everything into nothingness. Seeing this, Jun Xiaoyao once again activated the Kuan Peng's great divine power. The Kuan Peng's great divine power also had a hint of yin and yang transformation in it. At the same time, he once again used the Taiyin Saint power that he had comprehended from the Taiyin Saint Sutra. The silver Taiyin Saint power surged out like mercury and turned into a mercury ball that enveloped Jun Xiaoyao. Seeing this, the 10 princes of Jinwu's eyes became even more furious. At this moment, there was a loud boom. From the crack in the ground, Xian Yi's body shot out like a cannonball. Everyone looked over and saw that Xian Yi's physical body was overflowing with golden light and dragon blood was boiling. He was recovering at an extremely fast speed. His face, which had been slapped so hard that it was unbearable to look at, began to recover as well. These 3 people are all tough. Many people sighed. In addition, Jun Xiaoyao was trapped in the golden crow burning sky flags. The situation seemed to be disadvantageous for Jun Xiaoyao. Jun Xiaoyao, I'm going to smash your face. Xian Yi's dragon eyes shot out a cold light with extreme killing intent. His tone was extremely cold. How could he bear the humiliation of being slapped by Jun Xiaoyao? Hearing this, every female cultivator stared at Xian Yi with a cold look in their eyes. If Xian Yi really smashed such a godlike face, it would definitely be a waste of God's gift and he would be struck by lightning. Son of God, you have to win. Those female cultivators didn't dare to openly support Jun Xiaoyao because of Xian Yi and the others. However, they were still praying for Jun Xiaoyao in their hearts. If anything happened to such a godlike big brother, their hearts would be broken. Hee. Jun Xiaoyao only chuckled coldly. To him, this was just a warm-up. Did these people think that this was his limit? The 10 princes of Jinwu controlled the golden crow burning sky flags. Waves of flames surged as they tried to melt Jun Xiaoyao. Xian Yi thrust his spear forward. The projection of a golden dragon appeared on the golden dragon spear and roared as it charged forward. Sheng Tianyi grabbed at the air with both hands. The power of faith surged and converged into a bow and an arrow. The bow of faith and the arrow of death. Sheng Tianyi knocked the arrow and pulled the bowstring back. Some of the cultivators who didn't understand the situation were stunned. Why wasn't Sheng Tianyi aiming his bow at Jun Xiaoyao? You don't understand. The Gulan sect uses the bow of faith to pull the arrow of death. As long as they lock onto their target, the arrow will kill them. They won't be able to escape. If they can't block it, their soul will collapse and they will die. A few of the Sky Prides who knew a little bit about it said with fear. What? That's strange. Many of the Sky Prides were shocked. The Gulan sect was indeed the oldest sect in the 9 Heavens immortal realm. It was comparable to the Western sect. The 10 princes of Jinwu, Xian Yi, and Sheng Tianyi. The 3 top taboos attacked at the same time. Any of the other outlawed Sky Prides would be shocked if they were to face such a powerful aura. Jun Xiaoyao's face darkened. Did these people really think they could defeat him by working together? Jun Xiaoyao's body shuddered. His bones emitted a divine glow as he activated the immortal body of the great Luo. The divine elephant overpowering force was activated. The power of 100,000 divine elephants strengthened him. He stomped his foot. The illusionary figure of the 10,000 Dao saints bowed at Jun Xiaoyao. The rare phenomenon of the sacred flesh, the reverence of the 10,000 saints was activated. A magnificent illusionary figure of an immortal emperor rose from the ground behind him. It suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 lands like a statue of a deity. The immortal emperor descends to the 9 heavens. Jun Xiaoyao clenched his fist. A magnificent godly might was unleashed. Its strength was so shocking that the rift in front of him was shattered before he threw the punch. The Kuanping infinite godly fist, the lightning emperor finger, the grass symbol sword art, the immortal slaughtering sword art, the god-devouring demonic art, and the 9 tribulations demon executing thunder. He had merged the 6 mystical abilities into the punch. The complete version of the Fist of the 6 Paths of Reincarnation executed a shocking punch with the 6 mystical abilities. This punch will teach you a lesson. Chapter 768. With one punch, a terrifying aura surged through the 9 heavens imperial court. The energy wave was indescribably powerful. It was like an immortal god was destroying the world. He wanted to destroy everything and start all over again. With one punch, heaven and earth turned into chaos. 6 paths of destruction, reincarnation nirvana. The void was silently annihilated. The earth was shattered. All of the sky prides were horrified. Some of the weaker ones coughed out large mouthfuls of blood and retreated after being hit by a wisp of energy from the tip of the fist. One could imagine how terrifying the impact was for the 10 princes of Jinwu, who were in the middle of the battle. Heaven and earth lost all sound. After more than 100 breaths' time, a loud rumble filled the place. The central battlefield had already turned into pitch-black spatial turbulence. Space fragments were scattered everywhere. Seeing this scene, the whole place was silent. Was this really something that could be caused by someone below the supremacy level? Many prodigies began to doubt it. Although a great sage was powerful, it was not to the extent of causing such a commotion. It was as if a peak supremacy was attacking. Is this young Master Jun's true strength? Yu Yunchang murmured in a daze. Only now did she know that Jun Xiaoyaro did not use much of his true strength when he fought with Qin Wudao. If Qin Wudao knew about this, how would he feel? On the other side, Jun Lanshi and the other prodigies from the hidden lineages were also dumbfounded. Jun Xiaoyao's combat strength had refreshed their understanding of the younger generation. Jun Xiaoyaro had already begun to surpass some of the older seniors. Seeing this scene, Jun Shenming clenched his fists. There was a surge of jealousy in his heart. This was the invincible son of God from the main lineage. Terrifying energy waves swept through the sky. Everyone immediately looked over, wanting to see the battle situation. Cough cough, there was the sound of blood coughing. On the shattered ground, little Dragon King Xian Yi stood up with difficulty. He held the golden dragon spear in his hand to support his broken body. The golden dragon armor, which was his companion weapon, was already full of cracks. He was severely injured. His aura was chaotic, and his eyes were bloodshot. If it were not for the protection of the golden dragon armor, he would have been killed by this punch. On the other side, the 10 princes of Jinwu was covered in wounds, and his chin was dripping with blood. The 36 golden crow burning sky flags were also destroyed by the destructive waves and turned into fragments. The most miserable one was Sheng Tianyi. This was because Xian Yi and the 10 princes of Jinwu, one had the dragon bloodline, while the other had the Sun Saint body and the Golden Crow bloodline. His physical body was his forte. Although he was severely injured, he was still able to hold on. However, Sheng Tianyi was different. His physical body was not his forte. Therefore, at this moment, Sheng Tianyi's injuries were the most severe. His body was covered with all kinds of bloody wounds. It was like a cracked porcelain that was about to disintegrate. Everyone gasped when they saw the 3 top-notch outlawed sky prides in such a sorry state. A chill ran down their spines. They looked at Jun Xiaoyaro again. His clothes were whiter than snow, spotless by even a speck of dust. The techniques of the 3 top-notch outlawed sky prides did not affect him at all. Even Sheng Tianyi's heart-piercing arrow could not harm Jun Xiaoyao's primordial spirit. You're still alive. It seems that I, the Son of God, have underestimated you. Jun Xiaoyao's voice was heard. The power of his punch was not weak at all. Jun Xiaoyaro did not expect the 10 princes of Jinwu and the others to be able to survive. This also proved that the 3 of them were indeed dragons and phoenixes among men. Unfortunately, they ran into Jun Xiaoyaro. It's over. Jun Xiaoyao's voice was extremely cold as he performed the Kuan Peng steps. He was not a kind person. Those who dared to provoke him should be prepared to pay with their lives. Stop. Seeing that Jun Xiaoyaro was about to make a move, the Holy Orchid Sect, Dragon King Palace, and the 4 golden crow princes all shouted and rushed forward. If Sheng Tianyi, Xian Yi, and the 10 princes of Jinwu were to die here today, the impact would be devastating. The effects of that would be extremely terrifying, producing great disturbances. How dare a grain of rice emit brilliance? Zhang Xiaoyao's expression was cold as he pressed his palm down. Spurt! The sky prides of the 3 immortal forces exploded one by one, their bones and blood splattering everywhere. Blood rained down and dyed the world red. Zhang Xiaoyao, on the other hand, was dressed in white as he weaved through the rain of blood, taking a leisurely stroll. Some people were mesmerized by the scene, such as Yu Yunchang, Zhun Lanshi, and the others. Some sky prides felt their hair stand on end and chills run down their spines. That power was invincible. Who could be a match for that white-robed man? Let's go. Sheng Tianyi's eyes were cold as he gritted his teeth. He was seriously injured at the moment. If he hadn't used the power of faith to protect himself just now, his physical body would have collapsed and been smashed into pieces. He was truly frightened by Zhang Xiaoyao's punch. It was too powerful. It could even shatter the heavens. If another punch came, he would lose his life. Sheng Tianyi quickly retreated into the distance. Seeing Sheng Tianyi's action, all the sky prides were stunned. Sheng Tianyi, the leader of the 8 sacred princes of the Gulan sect, was running away like a coward. Damn it! Xian Yi and the 10 princes of Jinwu cursed when they saw Sheng Tianyi running away. If Sheng Tianyi ran away, their chances of winning would be even lower. The 2 of them also began to think of retreating in their hearts, preparing to leave. Do you think you can leave after scheming against the Son of God? Zhang Xiaoyao raised a hand when he saw what was happening. Boundless divine might surged. The origin energy of the universe gathered in his palm. A ray of light that shocked the world appeared as if it had come from the chaos. Genesis, God's light. An indescribable ray of light pierced through the sky and shot towards Sheng Tianyi, who was retreating. Sheng Tianyi felt a chill down his spine and a sense of death surged in his heart. He turned around and saw the ray of light. Everything in front of him seemed to have been taken away. All that was left was the dazzling brilliance, as if it was going to lead him to the other side. Impossible. I, Sheng Tianyi, will not fall here. Sheng Tianyi roared and squeezed out every bit of spiritual energy in his body. At the same time, the vigorous power of faith gathered crazily. Oh God, Mandala realm, his trump card was unleashed. A terrifying world formed from the power of faith spread out with peerless might. However, the God's light directly pierced through the world of faith and engulfed Sheng Tianyi. Sheng Tianyi roared crazily. He felt that every cell in his body was disintegrating under the terrifying God's light. Zhang Xiaoyao, when the Son of Truth of the Gulan sect is born, it will be the time of your death. Sheng Tianyi roared. His body and primordial spirit turned into nothingness in the God's light. Zhang Xiaoyao looked at the scene coldly. The Son of Truth. Zhang Xiaoyao's eyes flashed with a strange light. It was rumored that the Gulan sect would produce a Son of Truth in every generation. His status was above that of the 8 saints. However, Zhang Xiaoyao did not care. The Zhun family had destroyed the branch of the Gulan sect in the Huangtian mystic realm. They were like fire and water. They were destined to fight in the future. After Sheng Tianyi died, Zhang Xiaoyao turned his gaze to Xian Yi and the 10 princes of Jinwu. Both of their hearts sank completely. The whole book. Chapter 769. The 10 princes of Jinwu and Xian Yi both retreated rapidly. What face! What dignity! They were nothing in front of their lives. Only by living could they have a chance to turn the tables. Zhang Xiaoyao's figure shuttled through the void. With the spacebook, his control of the power of space had reached an extremely exquisite level. Coupled with the Kuan Peng's extreme speed, it would be very difficult for these 2 to escape from Zhang Xiaoyao's hands. Zhang Xiaoyao pressed down on Xian Yi with one hand. Xian Yi turned around and threw out the golden dragon spear. The golden dragon spear seemed to have turned into a golden-scaled dragon that soared into the void. With a flick of its tail, it shattered the void and attacked Zhang Xiaoyao. Zhang Xiaoyao's palm came down and shattered the golden dragon spear. The power of 36 Sumeru worlds gathered in his palm. It came down, puff. Blood splattered. The golden dragon armor on Xian Yi's body, which was already full of cracks, was completely shattered by this palm. The entire golden dragon armor turned into hundreds and thousands of fragments that sputtered in all directions. Everyone who saw this scene felt their hearts tremble, and they swallowed hard. This was Xian Yi's lifelong weapon, a treasure bestowed by the heavens. In the end, it was shattered by Zhang Xiaoyao's hand just like that. Xian Yi spat out a large mouthful of blood. This lifelong weapon was equivalent to his flesh and blood. At this moment, it was shattered, causing his injuries to worsen. Zhang Xiaoyao used his fingers as a sword and drew a horizontal and vertical line in the void. A cross-shaped void crack appeared and then expanded, as if a huge gap was drawn in the sky. Chaotic sky secret technique, cross-star field intersection. What kind of secret technique is this? Many geniuses were horrified. They had never seen Zhang Xiaoyao use such a move. Yu Yunchang and the others who followed him from the ancient Chaos Tower knew. What? It's the legendary chaotic sky secret technique? The son of God of the Zhang family actually obtained the inheritance of the ancient Chaos Emperor? Many geniuses were even more shocked after learning about the situation. Zhang Xiaoyao was already strong enough. Even if he did not obtain the inheritance of the great emperor, he would not be weaker than those geniuses who had obtained the inheritance of the great emperor. But now, Zhang Xiaoyao, who had obtained the inheritance of the ancient Chaos Emperor, was undoubtedly a tiger with wings. The other geniuses of the same generation were in despair. This world is the son of God of the Zhang family's stage. Someone sighed. The chaotic heaven secret technique slammed down. Xian Yi, who was already severely injured, was instantly dismembered by this move. It was as if he had been dismembered by the cross. His primordial spirit was naturally destroyed at the same time. Zhang Xiaoyao had no intention of giving him a chance to survive. In the end, only the Golden Crow 10th Prince remained. The 10th Prince thought that Xian Yi would be able to stall Zhang Xiaoyao. In the princesses of God, the of God SS was. He was scared out of his wits. The golden crow wings on his back flapped, and his body turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the distance. Zhang Xiaoyao casually raised his hand. The divine light was resplendent. It was like a light that led to the other side. When the divine light appeared, the soul would cross to the other side. The divine light from the Genesis era shot out again. At that moment, a few figures suddenly appeared to block the attack. 10th brother, hurry up and leave. 10th brother, as long as you're alive, you still have a chance. The few figures that appeared were the remaining 4 Golden Crow princes. Although they were also top geniuses, they were obviously not at the level of the 10 princes of Jinwu. Now that the 10 princes of Jinwu was in danger, they naturally would not sit back and do nothing. The Golden Crow King of the Sun God Mountain had also said before, even if all of you die, the 10th prince must not die. The resplendent divine light directly pierced through one of the Golden Crow princes. Then, it was the second one, the third one. Finally, it was the fourth one. The 4 Golden Crow princes used all kinds of methods to resist, but it was useless. They were directly pierced through. Brothers. When the 10 princes of Jinwu, who had escaped far away, saw this scene, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he was extremely domineering and cruel to outsiders, he still valued his brothers very much. Previously, the 5 Golden Crow princes had died at the hands of Zhang Xiaoyao. The 10 princes of Jinwu immediately wanted to take revenge. He dragged Xian Yi and Sheng Tianyi over to trap and kill Zhang Xiaoyao. In the end, no matter how much he thought about it, he did not expect Zhang Xiaoyao's true strength to be so perverted. Not only did he not take revenge, but he also lost 4 of his brothers. The 10 princes of Jinwu was filled with hatred. He was driven mad with hatred. However, he still gritted his teeth as blood seeped out. He did not even look back as he sped up and fled far away. Sigh, what a touching brotherhood. But as brothers, it's better to stay together. Zhang Xiaoyao clicked his tongue and sighed. Good brothers, hand in hand, walk together on the road to the netherworld. If they did not die together, how could they live up to such a deep brotherhood? Zhang Xiaoyao raised his hand again, and the light of God continued to shoot out. This time, there was no obstruction. It directly landed on the 10 princes of Jinwu. Seeing this, the 10 princes of Jinwu took out the sun treasure wheel and then took out a golden feather. This golden feather burned with flames on its surface and emitted a terrifying aura. The 10 princes of Jinwu injected his power into it. The golden feather immediately burst into flames and wrapped his body within it. He tore through the void and flew away. The light of God hit the sun treasure wheel. The rebound force caused the 10 princes of Jinwu, who was in the flames, to spit out blood mixed with his shattered organs. Half of his golden crow wing was shattered and torn. It was a tragic sight. With a final howl of pain, it disappeared into the closing void. Could that be the feather of the Golden Crow King? Jun Xiaoyaro was surprised. He did not expect the Golden Crow King of the Sun God Mountain to value the 10th prince so much that he even gave him a life feather to save his life. What a pity. If I could kill him, I could obtain the immortal scripture of Sunday. Then, I could comprehend it together with the immortal scripture of Taiyin. It would cause yin and yang changes in my inner universe. Jun Xiaoyaro shook his head and sighed. He felt that it was a pity. However, it did not matter. The 10 princes of Jinwu loved to stir up trouble. He would definitely take the initiative to deliver himself to Jun Xiaoyaro again. At that time, Jun Xiaoyaro could just harvest him. Seeing Jun Xiaoyaro shake his head, the surrounding prodigies were speechless. He killed 2 of them and severely injured one of them. Was he not satisfied with this result? If it were other supreme taboos, they would be proud to be able to fight against 3 of them at the same time. However, Jun Xiaoyaro killed 2 of them and severely injured one of them. He was still not satisfied. Also, don't forget that the son of God of the Jun family seems to have a quasi-emperor weapon that he hasn't used. That's right. The son of God hasn't used his bone of supremacy either. In other words, the son of God of the Jun family hasn't used his full strength even when facing 3 supreme taboos. Thinking of this, all the prodigies were silent. As the saying went, the unknown was the most terrifying. No one could figure out where Jun Xiaoyao's limit was. He always refreshed everyone's understanding of him. Thank you, Brother Xiaoyao, for your help. Jun Lanshi moved her feet lightly and appeared in front of Jun Xiaoyao. Her blue hair shone brightly and her blue dress fluttered in the wind. Her skin was as clear as jade. Although she was injured and looked a little disheveled, it did not diminish her beautiful charm. At this moment, Jun Lanshi's sapphire-like eyes were staring at Jun Xiaoyao. Her eyelashes fluttered and bloomed with admiration. Chapter 770. Jun Xiaoyao had always been fatally attractive to the opposite sex. Furthermore, Jun Xiaoyao was able to kill 2 of the great taboos and severely injure one of them with ease. With such strength, means, and grace, it was difficult for people not to admire him. Jun Lanshi's beautiful eyes had become starry. Although Jun Xiaoyao was the son of God of the main bloodline, in Jun Lanshi's eyes, there was no difference between him and the hidden bloodline. Although the hidden bloodline and the main bloodline were separated, there was no such thing as falling out with each other. It was just a simple difference in philosophy. Looking at Jun Xiaoyao's tall and slender figure at this moment, Jun Lanshi felt proud. This was a kind of respect that came from the bottom of her heart. Jun Xiaoyao's performance was too amazing. It was simply unparalleled. But it's still a little late. After all, so many people from the Jun family have died. Jun Xiaoyao looked at the remains of some of the Jun family's hidden bloodlines prodigies on the ground and sighed. Jun Xiaoyao generally didn't care about the life and death of ants. He was like God, indifferent to all living things. But after all, those who died were members of the Jun family. Jun Xiaoyao still felt a little sorry. Perhaps this was selfishness. Moreover, the 18th ancestor and the others had given him a mission to let the hidden bloodline return. He still had to show his emotions. Brother Xiaoyao, what are you talking about? If it weren't for you, Lanshi and the others would be dead. Jun Lanshi was even more touched when she heard this. They had inquired before, and Jun Xiaoyao's character was actually very indifferent. Except for the people around him, he could ignore all living things. Now, Zhang Xiaoyao's attitude undoubtedly showed that he regarded the hidden bloodline as his own family. This was a very important signal. I said that the blood of the Zhang family will not be shed in vain. In addition to these two, the 10 princes of Jinwu who escaped will also pay with their lives, Zhang Xiaoyao said. His words were resolute and decisive. Not to mention Zhang Lanshi, the other 2 geniuses of the Zhang family who were still alive were also excited. The son of God of the main bloodline was domineering. However, at this moment, a slightly ear-piercing voice sounded. Zhang Xiaoyao, have you ever thought about the consequences of killing them? As soon as he said that, Zhang Lanshi and the others' expressions changed. Zhang Xiaoyao raised his eyebrows and looked towards the source of the sound. The person who spoke was Zhang Xianming. Unlike the despair from before, Zhang Xianming, who was now out of danger, regained his composure. He acted as if he was passing judgment on everything. Zhang Xianming, what are you talking about? Zhang Lanshi frowned and shouted. Zhang Xiaoyao specially came here to save them, but Zhang Xianming could still say such stupid words. Zhang Xianming ignored him and looked at Zhang Xiaoyao. Although he had been shocked by Zhang Xiaoyao's strength just now, he was still shocked. But when he thought about it, he understood. It was impossible for Zhang Xiaoyao to make a move on the people of the hidden bloodline. In this era of great competition, all the major hidden forces and ancient clans had come out one after another. The Supreme Xian Ting also had the intention to reorganize again. The main bloodline of the Zhang family was under great pressure. The only way was to let the hidden bloodline return. And the reason why Zhang Xiaoyao made a move, Zhang Xianming believed that it must be to win over the hidden bloodline. In fact, Zhang Xianming was right. Zhang Xiaoyao did have such thoughts. But this didn't mean that Zhang Xiaoyao had to be humble in front of the hidden bloodline. Consequences? Tell me, son of God, what are the consequences? Zhang Xiaoyao smiled. Those who were familiar with Zhang Xiaoyao knew that his smile wasn't necessarily a good thing. Zhang Xianming still didn't know and said lightly, each of these 3 forces is a top immortal force. If something happens, can you bear the responsibility? Oh, so this son of God should watch you be trapped to death by the killing array, right? Zhang Xiaoyao didn't look angry. That's not true. You just need to save us. There's no need to be so ruthless. Now that we have a death feud, the consequences are already very serious, Zhang Xianming said. Shut up. Before Zhang Xiaoyao could say anything, Zhang Lanshi and the other hidden bloodline geniuses all glared at him and scolded him. Zhang Xianming was really a disgrace to the hidden bloodline of the Zhang family. Some of the other onlookers also began to whisper to each other. This is a genius from the hidden bloodline of the Zhang family. Why do I feel that he's such a coward? The hidden bloodline and the main bloodline of the Zhang family can't be compared. The gap between the younger generation is even greater. Hearing these remarks, Zhang Xuanming's face didn't look very good. At this time, Zhang Xiaoyao smiled. It was a sneer. I, Zhang Xiaoyao, have done everything in my life. Why should I care about the consequences? Even if I poke a hole in the sky, the heavens are not qualified to punish me, Zhang Xiaoyao. Zhang Xiaoyao flicked his sleeves and said firmly. He had the capital to do so. These domineering words made the audience dead silent. However, everyone thought about it carefully. Since Zhang Xiaoyao was born until now, he had been arrogant and had killed countless enemies without any scruples. Until now, he was still alive and well. Who dared to find trouble with him? Oh, no, almost all those who found trouble with Zhang Xiaoyao were dead. For example, Zulong, Wanhuang Spirit Mountain, Fallen God Palace, and other immortal forces. You! Zhang Xuanming's cheeks flushed red, and he was speechless for a moment. It seems that you have a lot of opinions about this son of God. Are you just looking for an excuse to pick on me? Zhang Xiaoyao looked straight at Zhang Xianming. Just a glance made Zhang Xianming feel a chill down his spine. He broke out in a cold sweat and almost fell to the ground. No, I'm a member of the hidden bloodline. He doesn't dare to make a move. He can't bear the consequences. Zhang Xianming comforted himself. Then he pretended to be calm and said, I don't have any opinions. I'm just talking about the facts. Moreover, we suffered an unexpected disaster. If you didn't provoke the 10 princes of Jinwu and the others, how could we, the prodigies of the hidden bloodline, be implicated? Zhang Xuanming's words made Zhang Lanshi unable to bear it. She stepped forward and slapped Zhang Xuanming's face. Brother Xiaoyaro is our benefactor who saved our lives. Is this how you treat your benefactor? Zhang Lanshi shouted angrily. We were implicated. He should save us. Zhang Shenming retorted, covering his face. He didn't expect Zhang Lanshi and the others to have such a big reaction. Just when Zhang Lanshi couldn't help but want to slap him again, Zhang Xiaoyao's hand lightly rested on Zhang Lanshi's shoulder. Brother Xiaoyao? Zhang Lanshi stopped and looked back at Zhang Xiaoyao. Zhang Xiaoyao smiled slightly and walked in front of Zhang Shenming. He said indifferently, this son of God hates many people, but the one I hate the most is those who have a rebellious bone behind their heads. No matter how long the hidden bloodline of the Zhang family has been separated from the main bloodline, it will always be a part of the Zhang family. The Zhang family will always be the Zhang family. Anyone who tries to split will not have a good ending. Zhang Xiaoyao's tone suddenly turned cold. Whether it was the main bloodline of the Zhang family or the Zhang imperial court. Although there might be various internal competitions, in general, they were still absolutely united forces. Those who always wanted to split the family, split the forces, and split the country to become independent would eventually die. They would not have a good ending. So, this son of God can save your life and also take it away. Zhang Xiaoyao's eyes were cold. His palm was like the sky, pressing down on Zhang Shenming. No, I'm from the hidden bloodline of the Zhang family. Zhang Xiaoyao, you really dare to kill me. Seeing this, Zhang Xuanming's eyes were filled with horror and he let out a roar. He didn't expect that Zhang Xiaoyao would really dare to kill him, a genius of the hidden bloodline, in front of everyone. Poochie. Without any suspense, Zhang Shenming was slapped into a bloody pulp and his primordial spirit exploded in an instant. Only a pool of blurry blood and bones was left. It was extremely bloody and shocking to see. Chapter 771. Everyone was in a daze. They didn't expect that Zhang Xiaoyao, the son of God of the main branch of the Zhang family, would kill the genius of the hidden branch with his own hands. This required great courage. Because if this kind of thing was spread out and known by the hidden branch, it would obviously not be a good thing. Even if Zhang Xiaoyao was the supreme son of God of the main branch of the Zhang family, he would still bear a lot of pressure. Everyone knew that if the Zhang family wanted to go further and even reach the level of being on par with the supreme Xian Ting, they must let the hidden branch return and obtain the power of the hidden branch. Does the son of God of the Zhang family not want the hidden branch to return? His method is really decisive. If it were me, I would definitely have a lot of scruples and wouldn't dare to do this. This is the difference between you and the son of God of the Zhang family. Whispers could be heard from all directions. Zhang Lanshi and the others were also stunned. This was too sudden. They didn't react for a moment. But after a while, Zhang Lanshi came back to her senses and looked at Zhang Xiaoyao. Brother Xiaoyao, I will explain the situation here to the hidden branch. Zhang Shenming reaped what he sowed. Zhang Lanshi, without any hesitation, stood on Zhang Xiaoyao's side. Because Zhang Xuanming's ugly face really made her feel a little disgusted. Although Zhang Xiaoyao's move was a little too much, it was reasonable. If it were her, she might not be able to help but want to slap Zhang Shenming to death. His mouth was too annoying. It's okay. I just killed a worm casually. 1,000-mile dike can be destroyed by an ant's nest, Zhang Xiaoyao said meaningfully. Zhang Lanshi was immediately enlightened. Indeed, in the hidden branch, although there were not many people like Zhang Shenming, there were still quite a few. Perhaps it was because of their existence that the hidden branch of the Zhang family became more and more dim and lost its former sharpness. However, Zhang Xuanming's death may cause some reaction, Zhang Lanshi said. Is it the top taboo of the hidden branch? Zhang Xiaoyao asked. Zhang Lanshi introduced the situation of the hidden branch of the Zhang family to Zhang Xiaoyao, including the strongest of the younger generation, Zhang Yinhuang and Zhang Qingyang. After hearing this, Zhang Xiaoyao nodded slightly and said, Got it. When the Son of God is free, let them come and pay a visit. Zhang Xiaoyao's words made Zhang Lanshi was slightly stunned. What Jun Xiaoyaro said was to let them come and pay a visit. It was like a subject to meet their monarch. This was the attitude of a superior's subordinates. However, Jun Lanchi sa of Avazatovt. Lanchi com. Ts of sts writes. Jun Lanchi's face blushed. When Jun Xiaoyaro acted in a domineering manner, he dazzled and mesmerized everyone who saw him. But when he's gentle, it's also very tempting. If only I was born in the main branch. Even if I'm just a maid by Xiaoyao's side. Jun Lanchi murmured in her heart. Then, Jun Lanchi and the others also left. They still had to report the situation here to the hidden branch. Jun Lanchi was still a little reluctant, but she also knew that there would definitely be a chance to meet Jun Xiaoyaro again in the future. By then, it might be time for the hidden branch to return. The matter here was finally resolved. At this time, the surrounding geniuses were completely relaxed. Then, their eyes were filled with amazement as they talked about the battle just now. This battle is definitely a classic. 1 against 3, 2 killed, and 1 severely injured. The Son of God is simply heaven-defying. On the ultimate ancient road, there aren't many who can fight with the Son of God of the Jun family, right? Young generation? The Son of God of the Jun family is probably stronger than some of the older generation now. Surprise, admiration, and reverence. Every time Jun Xiaoyaro made a move, he would amaze everyone. Yu Yunchang was a little dazzled by what she saw. Her heart seemed to have grown wings as it flew to Jun Xiaoyaro. In the beginning, she was just curious and admired Jun Xiaoyaro because of his appearance, temperament, and identity. But now, she was really impressed by Jun Xiaoyao's ability. The reason why Jun Xiaoyaro was so attractive to the opposite sex. In addition to his incomparable noble identity, extraordinary appearance, and temperament. Most importantly, his strength could bring a great sense of security. What did a woman need the most? It was the sense of security that a man could give. Why did Yu Yunchang have a brother complex before and think that other men were inferior to her brother? It was because the Ascendant King was strong enough to give her a great sense of security. Now, Yu Yunchang felt that Jun Xiaoyaro seemed to be able to provide her with more solid protection than her brother. What should I do next? Follow him shamelessly? He won't like such a woman, right? I'm so troubled. Yu Yunchang looked calm, but she was in a dilemma. She didn't want to let go of this opportunity. At this moment, Jun Xiaoyaro, who was standing in the void, suddenly spoke with a deep look in his eyes. Since you're here, show yourself. Many were baffled by what Jun Xiaoyaro said, feeling baffled by what he just said. The next moment, a faint and gentle laugh suddenly sounded. Haha, I still can't hide from Daoist Xiaoyao's senses. As soon as he finished speaking, goose feather-like snow suddenly fell from the void. Why is it snowing? No, it's not snow, but feathers. Many cultivators were stunned. In the void, countless snow-white and translucent feathers fell like heavy snow. A slender figure slowly stepped out of the void amidst this magnificent snow of feathers. It was a young man. He was wearing a snow-white crane cloak. Even his shoes and socks were white and spotless. His silver hair was loose and shiny. His facial features were pitilessly handsome. Even his eyebrows were silver white. He had an excellent temperament. He looked very handsome. People couldn't help but praise him. What a pitilessly handsome man. It could be said that if Jun Xiaoyaro wasn't here, the man who appeared in front of them would definitely steal everyone's attention. Not to mention some female cultivators, even some male sky prides were a little surprised. However, Jun Xiaoyaro was in front of them. The amazement of this man's appearance and temperament was subtly reduced. Of course, even so, he was still the center of attention. Comes with special effects. Jun Xiaoyaro looked at the figure walking in the void in the heavy snow and was surprised. Usually, people who came with gorgeous special effects were not easy to deal with. At the same time, he could also vaguely feel that this man was hiding something. Brother. Yu Yunchang's beautiful eyes were filled with joy. She leaped to the man's side like a deer. He's the Ascendant King? Some sky prides asked in surprise. They came to a sudden realization. The appearance of this man was indeed exactly the same as the legendary supreme taboo of the Yuhua god dynasty, the Yuhua king. Could it be that the Ascendant King came here to fight with the son of God of the Jun family? Many people thought of this and looked at each other. Chapter 772. It was not surprising that they would think that way. After all, the 10 princes of Jinwu and the other top outlawed sky prides had just fought Jun Xiaoyao. Now that the legendary Ascendant King had appeared, many people would naturally think that he was here to fight Jun Xiaoyao as well. If that's the case, things will get interesting. With the Jun family's son of God's strength, there shouldn't be much suspense in the outcome, right? That's not necessarily true. The Ascendant King is very secretive. He has only fought a few times on the ancient road of ultimate, and no one knows how strong he is. Brother, did you obtain some of the Ascendant Emperor's inheritance? Yu Yunchang asked joyfully. Just a little. The Ascendant King smiled gently. His temperament was as calm as water. Coupled with his handsome appearance, it was easy for people to have a good impression of him. It was no wonder that Yu Yunchang was so reliant on her brother. Some people also understood why Yu Yunchang had such high standards when it came to picking men. She had been influenced by him since she was young, and had unknowingly widened her horizons. Yu Yunchang smiled. Then, as if she had thought of something, her expression suddenly changed. She stared at the Ascendant King and said, "Brother, are you here to fight young Master Jun as well?" She had just witnessed the tragic death of Sheng Tianyi and the others. Naturally, she did not want her brother to fight again. In the past, she was very confident in the Ascendant King. She thought that no one in the younger generation could threaten her brother. However, after meeting Jun Xiaoyao, Yu Yunchang completely changed her mind. No matter how strong one was, there would always be someone stronger. Moreover, regardless of whether it was Jun Xiaoyao or the Ascendant King, she did not want anything to happen to either of them. "Hehe, I'm here to look for you. Who would have thought that I would witness such an exciting battle? I'm impressed by Brother Jun's strength." The Ascendant King smiled and shook his head. His words were filled with kindness. "It seems that the Ascendant King is not here to look for trouble," some people mumbled. "You're the famous Ascendant King. Seeing you in person is better than hearing about you 100 times. Jun Xiaoyao put his hands behind his back and smiled calmly. Don't hit a smiling person. Since the Ascendant King had expressed his goodwill, Jun Xiaoyao would naturally give him face. Originally, I thought that with my strength, even if I couldn't defeat Brother Jun, I would at least be able to contend against him. But now, it would seem that I was still too naive. Feather King sighed with a smile. Daoist brother, why are you so modest? Jun Xiaoyao's gaze was very deep. Although the Ascension King's aura was restrained, it was not visible to the outside world. However, with Jun Xiaoyao's sharp soul senses, he could still vaguely sense a hint of danger from Ascension King. Forget about him, the Ascendant King had a high chance of winning against the 10 princes of Jinwu and the others. He was Ling Yang, Jiu Tiezi, the tyrant, the successor of the human immortal sect, and the reincarnation of Bodhisattva Di. Although Sheng Tianyi, Xian Yi, and the others were also top-tier taboos, they were still a distance away from becoming supreme taboos. But they couldn't be said to be weak. If they were to fight against Jiu Tiezi and the others, they would still have the ability to fight and protect themselves. Unfortunately, they encountered Jun Xiaoyao, an anomaly that couldn't be understood with common sense. As for the 10 princes of Jinwu, if he could really cultivate the postnatal chaotic body, he would definitely be an extremely powerful existence among the supreme taboos. However, this hope had already been extinguished by Jun Xiaoyao. I'm not being modest. I'm just speaking the truth. If Brother Jun is willing to do me the honor, I would like to discuss Dao with Brother Jun over tea. What do you think? The Ascendant King stepped forward and smiled slightly. His handsome face was prettier than many women. Some male cultivators with unique hobbies might not be able to resist the urge to fend with him. Is the Ascendant King taking the initiative to befriend the son of God of the Jun family? Many people's eyes were deep when they saw this scene. Jun Xiaoyao had been pushing his way through the ancient road, almost single-handedly. At most, he had some subordinates and followers. There were very few people of the same generation as him. Perhaps because Jun Xiaoyaro was too aloof, many people felt that they weren't worthy of him. Many of the other supreme taboos were also Jun Xiaoyao's enemies. For example, the successors of immortal lineages, the Overlord, and so on. Brother Yu Yunchang was also surprised. The Ascendant King had a calm personality and was as calm as water. However, he was indifferent and arrogant on the inside. He never cared about befriending others. This was the first time the Ascendant King took the initiative to befriend someone of the same generation. However, Yu Yunchang was naturally happy to see this scene. She originally wanted the Ascendant King to befriend Jun Xiaoyaro. This way, wouldn't she have a better chance to get close to Jun Xiaoyaro? Brother, you're the best. Yu Yunchang was elated. Jun Xiaoyaro was also a little surprised. He didn't expect the Ascendant King to take the initiative to befriend him. Heh. Why not? Jun Xiaoyaro replied with a smile. As far as he could see, all he could see were his enemies. It wasn't bad to have one or two allies. With the Ascendant King's status and strength, he was indeed qualified to befriend him. Ha ha, straightforward. The Ascendant King laughed. Jun Xiaoyaro and the Ascendant King, the two pitilessly handsome men standing together, was simply pleasing to the eye. Some of the female cultivators present were stunned. They felt that they were too blessed. Just as the two of them were looking for a quiet place to drink tea and discuss the Tao, suddenly, a wave of fluctuation spread out from an extremely far place. The fluctuation actually contained traces of Emperor's might. However, it was very far away, as if it was on another continent of the buried Emperor star. It seems like another great Emperor's opportunity of fortune has appeared. The Ascendant King's snow-white eyebrows slightly raised with a calm expression. He had already obtained some things left behind by the Ascendant Emperor. Therefore, his reaction wasn't very big. Jun Xiaoyaro looked into the distance and sensed the traces of aura. Although it was very far away, he could faintly sense the power. Brother Jun, let's go. The Ascendant King said. Obviously, he wasn't prepared to participate in the Great Emperor's opportunity of fortune. By the time they arrived, the Great Emperor's opportunity of fortune might have already been looted clean. However, Jun Xiaoyaro didn't move and only frowned slightly. Brother Jun? The Ascendant King asked. I want to go there. Jun Xiaoyaro suddenly said. Oh! The Ascendant King was surprised. Didn't Jun Xiaoyaro just obtain the ancient Chaos Great Emperor's inheritance? Now, he wanted to obtain another Emperor's inheritance. Brother Jun, if we rush over now, it will be too late. The Ascendant King shook his head and chuckled. The appearance of a true Great Emperor's opportunity of fortune would definitely attract the attention of all the Sky Prides. By the time they rushed over, it would indeed be too late. My goal isn't the Emperor's opportunity of fortune. Jun Xiaoyao's eyes flashed with an unprecedented luster. Then, the Ascendant King was confused. That trace of emperors might seems to have a trace of the innate Tao embryo, Jun Xiaoyaro said. Innate Tao embryo. Could it be the legendary Queen Mother of the West? The Ascendant King was also surprised. The innate Tao embryo was an extremely rare physique and there weren't many of them since ancient times. The most famous one was the Jade Lake's Queen Mother of the West. Legend had it that the Queen Mother of the West had also left some traces on the buried Emperor star. From the looks of it, the Jade Lake's opportunity of fortune of the West had appeared. This would definitely cause a sensation and make everyone envious. MX full copy. Chapter 773. Could it be that Brother Jun wants to obtain the opportunity of the Queen Mother of the West and combine it with his sacred body of the ancients to develop the legendary innate sacred body of Taoism? Feather King guessed. He looked at Jun Xiaoyaro with his deep eyes. If Jun Xiaoyaro really had such an idea and succeeded, without a doubt, Jun Xiaoyao's talent and strength would skyrocket to an unimaginable level. He was already an unparalleled anomaly, and now he had the innate sacred body of Taoism. It could be said that no one could find such a person in the history of the mystic realm. Jun Xiaoyaro shook his head with a faint smile. As I said, my purpose is not to obtain the opportunity of the Queen Mother of the West. I just feel that I should meet someone. A rare look of gentleness appeared in Zhang Xiaoyao's usually deep and indifferent eyes as he spoke. She would not be absent from the inheritance of the Queen Mother of the West, right? Feather King thought for a moment and came to a realization. I see. It should be the goddess of the Jiang family with the innate sacred body of Taoism. She is indeed the one most likely to obtain the inheritance of the Queen Mother of the West. People with the same body constitution would be able to sense the inheritance of the Queen Mother of the West. For example, Zhang Xiaoyaro found the sacred palace of the ancients through various opportunities of karma. He obtained the imperial weapon, blood essence, elixir of immortality, cultivation experience, and so on. Jiang Shengyi had the innate sacred body of Taoism. Naturally, she was the one most likely to obtain the inheritance of the Queen Mother of the West. Beside them, Yu Yunchang's face darkened a little when she heard this. She had heard some things about Zhang Xiaoyaro and Jiang Shengyi. The two of them were a match made in heaven. Although Yu Yunchang's status was not low, compared to Jiang Shengyi, she did not have any advantage. Moreover, judging from Zhang Xiaoyao's expression, his attitude toward Jiang Shengyi was obviously different from his attitude toward other women. Yu Yunchang found it hard to imagine what kind of exceptional woman she must have been to be able to earn such special treatment from Zhang Xiaoyao. Who cares? For someone as outstanding as young Master Zhang, even if she can't be his main wife, she can still be his second concubine. Yu Yunchang would never have thought that someone as proud as her would want to become someone else's second wife. Zhang Xiaoyao stepped forward and tore through the void. Feather King, Yu Yunchang and the others also followed. Oh my God, Shi Wangmu's inheritance. Even if I can't eat the meat, I can drink a little soup, and I will benefit immensely. The prodigies present could no longer suppress the fire in their hearts and swarmed over. It could be said that the appearance of the Western Queen Mother's inheritance had attracted the attention of many people on the buried Emperor Star. At the same time, on the other side, a crack appeared in the void. A figure staggered out from within. Unable to hold on any longer, he directly fell to the ground. It was the 10 princes of Jinwu who had narrowly escaped. His body was cracked, and half of his golden crow wing was torn apart. He looked extremely miserable. If anyone else was here, they would definitely not recognize that this wretched person before them was the 10th golden crow prince, whose name had shaken the ancient road. Miserable, too miserable. The 10 princes of the Sun God Mountain were once high-spirited, arrogant, and domineering. No one dared to provoke them. But now, 9 of the 10 princes were dead. The remaining strongest, the 10 princes of Jinwu, was also in an extremely miserable state. He was no match for Zhang Xiaoyao at all. The 10 princes of Jinwu was filled with hatred. His hatred for Zhang Xiaoyao was so deep that even the waters of the world could not wash it away. The 10 princes of Jinwu could not help but roar at the sky. Just as he was infuriated, suddenly, the communication jade slip in his spatial Dharma artifact lit up. It was a message from an elder of the Sun God Mountain. The Sun God Mountain already knew some things. The 10 princes of Jinwu gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. So why didn't you do anything? Why did you just watch us in such a sorry state and several of our brothers die? Your Highness, even the Sun God Mountain can't interfere in the matters of the ancient road of ultimate. Otherwise, would the Jun family turn a blind eye if we did? Since they had stepped onto the ancient road of ultimate, they were responsible for their own lives. The power behind them might have a deterrent effect, but it was not absolute. Even immortal forces could not interfere in the ancient road of ultimate. The executors of the ancient road were not blind. So, this crown prince has to suffer a bloody loss and be laughed at by everyone? The 10 princes of Jinwu was extremely unwilling, and his body trembled. Your Highness, I have news to tell you. It's about the great Yin body. The 10 princes of Jinwu's expression froze, and then his eyes suddenly blazed with an extremely hot light. Did you catch Yu Chanhuan? The 10 princes of Jinwu asked, breathing heavily. If they could catch Yu Chanhuan and dual cultivate with her, the 10 princes of Jinwu was confident that they could cultivate the postnatal chaotic body. When that time came, Zhang Xiaoyao would be nothing. The Golden Crow elder hesitated for a moment, then said, not really. However, We found another great yin body. Another great yin body? The 10 princes of Jinwu frowned slightly. The Golden Crow elder had not used the word one, but one corpse. Generally speaking, a living person would not be described as one corpse. The Golden Crow elder hesitated for a moment, then sighed. Your Highness, please come back first. This matter is still up to you to decide. 9 of the 10 princes had died. This time, the Sun God Mountain had really suffered a great loss. Fortunately, at least the 10 princes of Jinwu were still alive. The 10 princes of Jinwu also vaguely sensed that the Golden Crow elder's words had a hidden meaning. However, he still decided to return first and check on the Great Yin body's situation. As long as there's a chance of cultivating the postnatal chaotic body, I won't let it go. Jun Xiaoyao, just you wait, the 10 princes of Jinwu swore in his heart as his figure tore through the sky. On another continent of the buried Emperor Star, the originally desolate ancient land was now blooming with all kinds of colors. A mystical scene appeared, as if they were dreaming of ancient times. All kinds of immortal lights shone, and strange flowers and herbs bloomed. The commotion here attracted the attention of others. At this moment, outside this ancient land, 2 figures stood in the void. They were Princess Divine Silkworm of the Divine Silkworm Valley and Yarrow Yukong of the ancient Heaven Fei Temple. Princess Divine Silkworm's skin was crystal clear, her figure was slender, and her delicate body was surrounded by 9 colored divine light. Behind her head, 9 divine halos were faintly discernible, blooming with Tao Law radiance, indicating her heaven-defying appearance as a 9-transformation celestial silkworm. Yarrow Yukong, who was beside her, was also devilishly handsome. His demonic aura was awe-inspiring and intimidating. However, Princess Divine Silkworm's expression didn't look too good. No wonder we've been blocked outside and couldn't find the way in. It turns out that someone has already entered. Princess Divine Silkworm's tone was somewhat gloomy. Someone actually got here first. This Jade Lake ancient land isn't a place that anyone can easily find, let alone enter. Yarrow Yukong also frowned. He had specially come to help Princess Divine Silkworm. If Princess Divine Silkworm didn't obtain anything in the end, wouldn't it show that he was incompetent? Jade Lake, Queen Mother of the West, Carnate Tao Embryo, could it be that person? Princess Divine Silkworm thought of a person. A peerless figure who was equally famous as her on the ultimate ancient road and was revered as a goddess by countless people. The Jiang family's goddess, Jiang Shengyi. For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version website, Book 5975. Chapter 774. Men would compete with each other. Women also had the heart to compete with each other. Currently, the most famous goddess-like figure on the ultimate ancient road. It was just Princess Ling Yang, Princess Divine Silkworm, Jiang Shengyi, Ji Qingyi, and a few others. Of course, it wasn't that Jiang Luoli, Yang Rumeng, and the others weren't charming. It was just that their fame wasn't as high as those few. Princess Divine Silkworm was also very curious about this person who was as famous as her on the ultimate ancient road. Jiang family's Divine Silkworm? Could it be her? Yarrow Yukong asked. I can't think of a second person apart from her, Princess Divine Silkworm said. Jiang Shengyi, who had a carnate Tao embryo, was most likely to obtain the Queen Mother's inheritance. She had to admit it. So what if it's Jiang Shengyi? As long as you want it, I will help you get it, Yarrow Yukong said gently and affectionately. Princess Divine Silkworm's expression didn't relax. She combed her beautiful hair and said, I'm determined to get the Queen Mother's inheritance, but Jiang Shengyi isn't the main point. Then the main point is. Yarrow Yukong hesitated. Jun Xiaoyao, Princess Divine Silkworm said directly. Many people knew about the relationship between Jun Xiaoyao and Jiang Shengyi. If they really chose to deal with Jiang Shengyi, then they would undoubtedly have to face an even more powerful and terrifying opponent. Even someone as arrogant as Princess Divine Silkworm only said that Jun Xiaoyao couldn't threaten her life. She didn't say that she could completely deal with Jun Xiaoyao. I admit that Jun Xiaoyao isn't weak, but if the two of us join forces, then Jun Xiaoyao shouldn't be able to do anything to us, right? Yarrow Yukong frowned. He felt that Princess Divine Silkworm was overestimating Jun Xiaoyaro a little too much. The shocking battle results of Jun Xiaoyaro against the 10 princes of Jinwu hadn't spread yet. If Yarrow Yukong knew about this, he probably wouldn't say such ignorant words so easily. It's never wrong to be cautious, Princess Divine Silkworm said. Then what should we do next? Yarrow Yukong asked. The commotion here has already spread far and wide. I'm sure it will attract attention from all directions. Regardless of whether Jiang Shengyi obtains the inheritance or not, this ancient land will eventually open. At that time, Jiang Shengyi won't just be facing the two of us alone. He'll be facing hundreds and thousands of top prodigies. To be honest, Princess Divine Silkworm wasn't willing to see the current situation. The more people knew about the fortuitous opportunity, the more unfavorable it would be for her. But there was nothing he could do. The commotion had already spread. Next, whoever had the harder fist would be able to obtain the opportunity. As for Jiang Shengyi, to put it bluntly, he was just a tool to unlock the inheritance of the Jade Lake ancient land. The moment she appeared, she would immediately be targeted by everyone. Even with Jiang Shengyi's status and strength, not many people would be able to maintain their rationality in the face of the inheritance of the Queen Mother of the West. Because of the strange phenomenon in the Jade Lake ancient land, this continent had attracted the attention of many geniuses from all over the world. At this moment, in the depths of the ancient Jade Lake, in a dilapidated ancient palace, an illusory figure in plain clothes floated in the void. It was a mature and beautiful woman with picturesque features, but one could vaguely see the majesty of the past. She had a voluptuous figure and a mature charm. She was Jiang Shengyi's elder sister, the former sect master of the Jade Lake, Yu Qingning. As expected of my disciple. It seems that it won't be long before he'll be able to pass the test. At that time, the true inheritance will also appear. It's just that, this commotion is a bit too big. Yu Qingning's elegant phoenix eyes had a faint trace of worry. No matter how powerful Jiang Shengyi was, he was still just one person. Due to the suppression of the buried Emperor Star's special laws, Yu Qingning couldn't help Jiang Shengyi. If she really helped, the remaining trace of her primordial spirit might be killed by the laws. Therefore, when they first came to the buried Emperor Star, Yu Qingning had said that everything would depend on Jiang Shengyi. However, if something really happens at that time, I have to protect her even if I have to destroy this strand of my soul. Yu Qingning looked at Jiang Shengyi, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground and undergoing the soul test, with a trace of gentleness in her eyes. In the beginning, Yu Qingning did want to use the power of Jiang Shengyi and her carnate Taoist embryo to help her recover her primordial spirit and create a flawless body. However, after interacting with her for a while, Yu Qingning also knew how mature and tenacious this pitilessly beautiful woman was. This made Yu Qingning feel as if she was looking at her younger self. In addition, Jiang Shengyi also had a carnate Taoist embryo. Yu Qingning didn't hesitate to take Jiang Shengyi as her disciple. Jiang Shengyi's performance didn't disappoint her. It was completely impeccable. This is a difficult test. If you can pass it, you will completely transform and break through the cocoon to become a butterfly, Yu Qingning murmured. At this moment, Jiang Shengyi had already undergone many soul tests. She passed them one by one. After all, she had a carnate Taoist embryo, and there was also Yu Qingning, the former sect master of the Jade Lake. It was only a matter of time before she passed. In front of her, there was chaos. Jiang Shengyi didn't know how much time had passed in the outside world, but she felt as if she had stayed in the soul illusion for thousands of years. Fortunately, Jiang Shengyi's Taoist heart was flawless, and she had a carnate Taoist embryo. None of the tests were difficult for her. It should be over soon. What is this test? Jiang Shengyi murmured to herself. She wanted to end everything quickly and obtain the inheritance. Then, she would leave the buried Emperor Star and walk to the end of the ultimate ancient road. Then, she would be able to see the figure that she had been thinking about day and night. Xiao Yao. Jiang Shengyi murmured in her heart. It was as if her heart would calm down just by saying those two words. She wasn't the kind of woman who always wanted to stay by her lover's side. However, this didn't mean that she didn't have any attachment at all. However, Jiang Xingyi understood that she and Jun Xiaoyao both had their own cultivation paths to walk. A short separation was for a longer time. After coming back to her senses, Jiang Xingyi saw a strange scene in front of her. She seemed to have returned to the ancient times. Heaven and earth were shaking, and the immortal realm was in chaos. All kinds of calamities were coming one after another. Amidst the countless illusions, she saw a beautiful figure that could topple the world. She could sense a familiar power from that pitilessly beautiful figure. A carnate Taoist embryo. Could that be the Queen Mother of the West? Jiang Xingyi was extremely surprised. She didn't expect to see this scene in the soul illusion. Next, Jiang Xingyi witnessed the love between the Queen Mother of the West and a man again. That man had a sacred body of the ancients. It was a sacred body that was close to the greater success stage and could fight against great emperors. The Queen Mother of the West had also founded the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Her peerless beauty made countless men in the immortal realm bow down to her. They knew each other and fell in love with each other. They became an immortal couple that everyone in the nine heavens immortal realm envied. However, in the end, there was chaos. Darkness overturned the immortal realm. No one was spared. Even great emperors might fall and die. The sacred body's responsibility was to quell the chaos. He wanted to go to the nine heavens immortal realm and end all the darkness. However, he was stopped by the Queen Mother of the West. She wanted to go with him. In the end, the sacred body compromised and decided to go into seclusion with the Queen Mother of the West. After breaking through, they would go to the nine heavens immortal realm together. However, he lied to her. When the Queen Mother of the West was in seclusion to break through, the sacred body went to the nine heavens immortal realm alone. It was because he didn't want his lover to go into danger with him and suffer any harm. He only left behind a line of words. I hope that I won't let down the people and you in the nine heavens immortal realm. For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website, Book 5975. Chapter 775. When the Queen Mother of the West broke through, her strength reached its peak. Just as she was overjoyed and went to find her lover. In the end, she only saw that line of words. I hope that I won't let down the common people and you. The Queen Mother of the West cried and was filled with grief and indignation. In the end, this man still lied to her. She wanted to go to the nine heavens, but she couldn't ignore the pleas of the people of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. She waited, and waited, and waited. She wanted to wait for her lover to return successfully. In the end, she only waited for a broken body that fell from the nine heavens. He fought the darkness and tried to pacify the chaos, but in the end, he was alone. He, who was still a step away from the great success sacred body, lost. What he paid was his life. That day, the Queen Mother of the West's hair turned white. But she was unwilling for her lover to die just like that. She dealt with all the matters of the Jade Lake. She left her mantle behind. In the end, she sacrificed herself and forcefully cultivated to the highest level of innate Tao embryo, which was the 12 apertures immortal heart. She dug it out. She seized life from the heavens and went against the cycle of life and death. She integrated the 12 apertures immortal heart into the sacred body. That day, the sky rained blood, and the world was furious. Even an emperor couldn't go against the karma of the cycle of life and death. And the Queen Mother of the West went against the heavens for love. In the end, she closed her eyes. But he opened his eyes. From then on, there was another innate Tao embryo in the world. There was also another person who was heartbroken. He sealed the Queen Mother of the West in a 10,000-year-old ice coffin. He carried it on his back. One person carried a coffin and stepped into the nine heavens. He suppressed the darkness with one hand and destroyed the chaos. Countless living beings in the celestial realm praised his name and regarded him as a true hero. However, he left with the ice coffin on his back and did not appear in the world. From then on, there was no hero in the world who quelled the darkness. There was only a lonely coffin man. He finally lived up to his words and didn't let down the common people. But, he let her down. Scenes of illusions appeared in front of Jiang Xingyi and disappeared. Even Jiang Xingyi was silent for a moment. Her emotions were touched. She suddenly remembered that in the legends of the celestial realm, there was an emperor who had touched the immortal Tao. He had the supreme Tao embryo of the innate Tao. His title was Endless Heavenly Emperor. Now it seemed that he was most likely the saintly being in the illusion. Jiang Xingyi also understood that the innate saintly being was a Taoist fetus. It was not necessary for the sacred body of the ancients and the innate embryos of the Wei to produce offspring. The innate Taoist embryo could also be sacrificed to complete the saintly body. But since ancient times, how many people were willing to do so? Only an idiot like the Queen Mother of the West would do such a thing. At this moment, an ethereal voice resounded in the void. If it were you, would you be willing to do this? Jiang Xingyi's eyes darkened. She knew that this should be the final test of the inheritance. Because she also had a natural embryo of Tao. You can think about it before you answer. There's no use in lying, the ethereal voice continued. If he were to say something against his will, it would be impossible for him to obtain the inheritance. Are you willing? For some reason, the first thing that appeared in Jiang Xingyi's mind was a pillously handsome face with a gentle smile. Wasn't the person she admired also a saintly being? There was no need to think about it. Because to Jiang Xingyi, there was only one answer to this question. I'm willing. If it's for him, I'm willing. The illusory space fell into a dead silence. The voice probably did not expect that Jiang Xingyi would make such a choice to sacrifice herself without hesitation. After a long time, a sigh could be heard from the misty voice. Are you really that stupid? When Jiang Xingyi heard this, a sweet smile appeared on her beautiful and flawless face. Her beautiful eyes were as gentle as water. If I can meet someone in my life who can make me crazy, silly, happy, and sad, it's not bad. As soon as she said this, the voice fell silent again. After a while, the voice said, "Congratulations, you've passed the test." As her voice faded, Jiang Xingyi's figure gradually faded and disappeared. She had left the spiritual illusory realm of the test. What has happened will happen again. Everything in the world is a reincarnation. The ethereal voice murmured, sighed, and finally disappeared. In the outside world, the entire jade pool ancient land bloomed with even more dazzling immortal light. In the palace deep in the ancient land, Yu Qingning felt the changes in her surroundings, and a hint of joy appeared in her eyes. Jiang Xingyi had succeeded. Rumble. The earth began to shake. Endless immortal light shone brightly, and the spirit qi was so dense that it could not be dispersed. Milky white spirit qi overflowed. The entire ancient palace was submerged, and the spirit qi was dense. This place has turned into the jade pool. Yu Qingning sighed. The jade pool, also known as the immortal pool, was extraordinary. If a person soaked in it, although it would not directly transform into an immortal, it would still be greatly beneficial. The physical body, even the soul and primordial spirit would be baptized and become incomparably pure. In the outside world, the water of the jade pool was valued by drops. At this moment, the entire ancient palace had turned into a jade pool. What surprised Yu Qingning even more was, in the place where Jiang Xingyi sat, a pure white crystal lotus that emitted mysterious Tao patterns bloomed. Jiang Xingyi sat cross-legged in the lotus like an otherworldly true immortal. Tribulation transcendental lotus. Yu Qingning sighed. She did not expect this treasure of the jade pool sacred ground to be here. Anything related to immortals was extremely precious and rare. For example, the blood of a remnant immortal, the immortal fetus, and so on. The same was true for the tribulation transcendental lotus. The energy contained in the tribulation transcendental lotus was extremely powerful, comparable to hundreds of thousands of immortal marrow veins. It was even enough for a saint to cultivate to the quasi-supreme level. More importantly, the tribulation transcendental lotus had another attribute that was even more coveted. That was, after refining the energy of the tribulation transcendental lotus. In the future, when transcending various heavenly tribulations and supreme tribulations, there would be great benefits. It could be immune to the lightning tribulation to a certain extent. This was a bit abnormal. One had to know that not everyone was like Jun Xiaoyao, who was immune to the heavenly tribulation and even suppressed it. 4 ordinary cultivators, not to mention the supreme tribulation. Even the seven-colored tribulation transcendental sage was extremely risky. And the further one went, the higher the realm, the greater the danger of the tribulation. If one refined the tribulation transcendental lotus, it could greatly reduce the risk. Who wouldn't be envious? In fact, even utmost exalted realm experts would be envious upon seeing them. However, before Yu Qingning could sigh, many golden runes appeared in the void and finally gathered in Jiang Shengyi's hand, turning into a golden scripture. The complete version of the Jade Pool Celestial Sutra. Yu Qingning was surprised again. As the former sect master of the Jade Pool, she naturally cultivated the Jade Pool Celestial Sutra. It was just that it was incomplete. The Jade Pool Sacred Ground had also experienced turmoil and disasters, and the complete version of the Jade Pool Celestial Sutra had been broken and was not passed down. Only the incomplete version was left. What Yu Qingning cultivated was the incomplete version. But now, the complete version of the Jade Pool Celestial Sutra was in Jiang Shengyi's hands. Shengyi, this is a great opportunity. Yu Qingning was happy for her disciple. Jiang Shengyi, who was sitting cross-legged on the Tribulation Transcendental Lotus, was also happy. These opportunities could allow her to catch up with Zhun Xiaoyao's footsteps. However, it was not over yet. An extremely terrifying force suddenly emerged from the bottom of the Jade Pool. It turned out to be a strange stone with 9 holes on the surface, spewing out the essence of heaven and earth and the essence of the sun and moon. That's the 9-hole stone embryo. Even Yu Qingning could not help but exclaim. The long-lost divine object of the Jade Pool Sacred Ground had actually appeared here. Chapter 776. Since ancient times, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground had enshrined some strange stones. Some of them were found by the Queen Mother of the West. All of these strange stones were born from the heavens and the earth, and they gathered the essence of the universe, the sun, and the moon. To put it bluntly, it was equivalent to the embryo of a Holy Spirit. What was a Holy Spirit? A greater success Saint Spirit was an existence that could fight against great emperors and ancient sovereigns. The Jade Lake Sacred Ground cared a lot about these strange stones, and there were supreme beings who taught them about the Tao. All kinds of spiritual liquids and precious blood were poured over it. Among them, the most precious was a 9-orifice stone embryo. It was rumored that the 9 orifices stone embryo was the reason why the Queen Mother of the West was able to cultivate the 12 orifices immortal heart. However, the 9 orifices stone embryo was lost later on. Yu Qingning never thought that the 9 orifices stone embryo was actually here, waiting for the inheritor of the innate Taoist embryo. Great opportunity. This is truly a great opportunity. Yu Qingning sighed. This 9-orifice stone embryo was definitely rare. If Jiang Shengyi absorbed its energy and refined it, he would almost certainly be able to cultivate the 9 orifices Linglong Daoist heart. If he could completely refine it, he might even have a chance to cultivate the 12 apertures immortal heart. Even if he didn't refine it, he could still cultivate it into an avatar. In the future, he would be able to nurture an invincible saint spirit. It could be said that the fortune of the 9 orifices stone embryo was even more precious than the tribulation transcending divine lotus. Just as the 9 orifices stone embryo appeared, that terrifying and boundless fluctuation directly overturned the entire ancient hall. The surrounding ancient lands seemed to have been razed to the ground. From this, it could be seen how much power this 9 orifice stone embryo possessed. Shengyi, quick, put it away. This is the foundation of your transformation in the future, Yu Qingning said solemnly. Jiang Shengyi nodded. She waved her snow-white sleeve and put away the 9 orifices stone embryo along with the Jade Lake immortal scripture. The 9 orifices stone embryo also seemed to have spiritual awareness. It sensed the aura of the carnate Tao embryo on Jiang Shengyi and did not resist. Clearly, the aura of the innate Daoist embryo was the same as the aura of the Queen Mother of the West. It could be said that if it were anyone else, as long as they didn't have the innate Tao embryo, they would be fiercely resisted by the stone embryo. What a great harvest this time. Jiang Shengyi's red lips curled up slightly. Her pearly white teeth were like jade as she revealed a joyful smile. All right, Shengyi, You will be baptized by the jade pool and then refine the tribulation-crossing divine lotus. The commotion here will probably attract some trouble, said Yu Qingning. Master, Shengyi understands. Jiang Shengyi calmed his mind and sat cross-legged on the tribulation-transcending immortal lotus. The baptism of the Jade Lake was a rare opportunity. After the supreme baptism, Jiang Shengyi's body and primordial spirit would be incomparably pure and flawless. His talent would be further enhanced. At that time, even if he wasn't as talented as Zhun Xiaoyao, he would at least be an outstanding talent among his peers. This opportunity was extremely important to Jiang Shengyi. Just as Jiang Shengyi was receiving the baptism of the Jade Pool and was about to refine the tribulation-transcending divine lotus, the commotion in the Jade Lake ancient land naturally spread out. There were already all kinds of strange phenomena rising in this place. In addition, when the 9-orifice stone embryo was born, it emitted a powerful fluctuation that overturned the ancient palace and the surrounding area. It was difficult for such a big commotion not to attract the attention of other sky prides. Hey, what rich spirit qi! It's indeed in that ancient land. That's a lake in front. Why does it seem like someone is sitting cross-legged in it? The sky prides from all directions were attracted by the strange phenomena and gathered at the Jade Lake ancient land. Some of the sharp-eyed people saw the depths of the Jade Lake ancient land. Immortal light shone brightly, and spirit qi was dense. A celestial lake was located in it. Could that be the legendary Jade Lake? Undergoing baptism in it can achieve a transformation in one's life level. The eyes of all the sky prides were burning with passion. Innate talent was something that was hard to change if one didn't have a great opportunity. The baptism of the Jade Lake was undoubtedly a huge opportunity for transformation. No, it's not just the Jade Lake. There's also a lotus in it. Damn, could it be the tribulation-transcending divine lotus? Many sky prides narrowed their eyes and were dumbfounded. The sky prides who were able to reach the buried emperor star were all dragons and phoenixes among men. Their vision was naturally very high, so it was reasonable for them to be able to recognize the tribulation-transcending divine lotus. However, it was precisely because they knew the effects of the tribulation-transcending divine lotus that they were so envious and crazy. To be able to be immune to the power of the heavenly tribulation to a certain extent, its effects were simply heaven-defying. Even ordinary immortal elixirs could not compare to it. I must obtain the tribulation-transcending divine lotus. A sky pride flew across the sky on his sword. The passion in his eyes seemed to turn into flames that were about to burst out. Dream on. Such a wondrous item of heaven and earth can only be obtained by those who are capable. The other sky prides were not to be outdone. In just a short moment, hundreds and thousands of sky prides rushed to the depths of the Jade Lake ancient land. However, when they approached, they could clearly see the peerless figure sitting cross-legged on the tribulation-transcending divine lotus. She was dressed in snow-white clothes that were flawless. Her hair was as white as snow, and it complemented her pitilessly beautiful face. It was truly a dazzling sight, and it made one marvel at the miraculous creation. Jiang Shengyi's temperament was originally like a snow lotus on the heavenly mountain, untainted by dust and aloof from the world. Now that she was sitting cross-legged on the tribulation-transcending divine lotus, she displayed the charm of a cold and peerless goddess to the fullest. Some sky prides were even a little dazed and momentarily forgot to make a move. It's the Jiang family's goddess. There were also some sky prides who came to their senses, and a hint of hesitation appeared in their eyes. If it were any other sky prides, they would not hesitate to snatch the opportunity. However, if it was Jiang Shengyi, it would be a little difficult to deal with. The difficult part was not Jiang Shengyi herself. Although she was strong enough to make many people wary of her, it was obvious that she was not strong enough to intimidate everyone. She was strong enough to intimidate all the sky prides on the entire ancient road. There was only one person. That person was Zhun Xiaoyao, who had never tasted defeat since he was born. He was unrivaled among the younger generation. It could be said that anyone who was related to Zhun Xiaoyao was enough to make others wary. Not to mention, the relationship between Jiang Shengyi and Zhun Xiaoyao was very unusual. This unusual relationship was not because of Jiang Shengyi's identity as Jiang Shengyi's aunt. It was because she was very important to Jun Xiaoyao. Their relationship was different from that of other women. If something happened to Jiang Shengyi, the Sky Prides present would not doubt it. Jun Xiaoyao would directly kill all of them, not leaving a single one alive. It's actually the Jiang family's goddess. What should we do? Many people revealed hesitation in their eyes. In the jade pool, Jiang Shengyi, who was sitting cross-legged on the tribulation transcending divine lotus, slowly opened her beautiful eyes and looked around. There were more than 1,000 Sky Prides present. How could anyone who could reach the buried Emperor Star be weak? However, these Sky Prides did not rashly make a move. Jiang Shengyi knew in her heart what they were worried about. In Jiang Shengyi's mind, Yu Qingning's sigh rang out. They seemed to be worried because of Jun Xiaoyao. TSK, I didn't expect my disciple's man to be so influential. It really makes me very curious. Yu Qingning's tone had a hint of gossip and ridicule. To be honest, even she, the ancient Jade Pool's sect master, was interested in Jun Xiaoyao. This man could make her disciples so worried, and he was so outstanding that all the Sky Prides were wary of him. Who exactly was he? For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website, Book 5975. Chapter 777. Yu Qingning's words made Jiang Shengyi's snow-white face blush a little. At the same time, there was a hint of pride in her beautiful eyes. This was the man of her dreams, a peerless man with a domineering aura. Just his name alone was enough to intimidate all the Sky Prides, making them not dare to act rashly. Even the successors of the Xian Ting's immortal orthodoxies, the Overlord, and the others did not possess this kind of deterrence and influence. It could only be said that the name Jun Xiaoyao represented a supreme existence. No one dared to offend him. Although Jiang Shengyi was very proud of herself, she also understood that the opportunities here were too tempting. The Jade Pool baptism and the Tribulation Transcendence immortal lotus would make even an honorable envious. Fortunately, Jiang Shengyi had put away the Jade Pool Immortal Sutra and the 9-orifice stone embryo. Otherwise, even with Jun Xiaoyao's reputation, it would not be able to suppress the crazy greed in these Sky Prides' hearts. Jiang Shengyi also understood that this kind of scruples would not last long. She could only try her best to absorb and refine as much as possible. Just as Jiang Shengyi was about to concentrate on cultivating, a voice that was as cold as frost suddenly sounded. As expected, I guessed correctly. Jiang Shengyi, it's really you. Following this voice, 2 rainbows flashed from afar and landed in the void. It was Princess Divine Silkworm and Yarrow Yukong. Princess Divine Silkworm had a slender figure, her muscles and bones were crystal clear, and 9 divine halos were faintly discernible behind her head, emitting Tao Law radiance. 9 colored divine light enveloped her body, making her look like a noble goddess. Yarrow Yuekong's aura was also powerful, evil, and handsome, causing people to be intimidated. It's Princess Divine Silkworm of the Divine Silkworm Valley. She has undergone 9 transformations and is unimaginably powerful. Yarrow Yukong of the ancient Heavenly Demon Temple is here too. Rumor has it that he has cultivated the ancient Heavenly Demon Temple's Demon Emperor Immortal Sutra to an extremely profound level. Both of them were Sky Prides whose names shook the ancient road. Especially Princess Divine Silkworm. Although she was a woman, her strength was feared by many male supreme outlawed Sky Prides. The appearance of these two caused the hearts of many Sky Prides present to skip a beat. Then, they smiled bitterly and helplessly. What was originally a big piece of fat meat was divided among a group of jackals and wolves. In the end, when the tiger came, the pack of jackals could only eat the scraps. It couldn't be helped. On the ultimate ancient road, strength was everything. When Jiang Shengyi saw Princess Divine Silkworm and Yarrow Yukong, a hint of seriousness appeared in his eyes. Other people might fear Jun Xiaoyao, but Princess Divine Silkworm and Yarrow Yukong definitely wouldn't. Behind them were the top Archean royalty, Divine Silkworm Valley, and the ancient Heaven Fey Palace, an immortal demon faction. They were not intimidated by Jun Xiaoyao's name. Yarrow Yukong sized up Jiang Shengyi, and a hint of surprise flashed across his eyes. To be honest, the Divine Silkworm Princess by his side was already a rare heavenly beauty. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so infatuated and be willing to be a tool and bootlicker. However, Jiang Xingyi was stunning not only because of her beautiful and peerless appearance, but also because of her temperament that was like a snow lotus in a cold spring. If a man could conquer such a peerless woman, he would be extremely satisfied. Thinking of this, even Yarrow Yukong couldn't help but feel jealous of Jun Xiaoyao. Jun Xiaoyao's luck with women was too good. Goddesses and concubines kept throwing themselves at him, infatuated with him. As for Yarrow Yukong, he had to be a lowly bootlicker to chase after Princess Divine Silkworm. Yarrow Yukong restrained his emotions and sneered, "The Jade Pool Baptism and the Tribulation Immortal Lotus. This is a great opportunity." Even if Yarrow Yukong had the ancient Heaven Fei Palace behind him, he had never lacked opportunities since he was young. However, he was still a little envious when he saw the opportunity in front of him. Princess Divine Silkworm's beautiful eyes were deep. She shook her head lightly and said, "Not only, oh." Yarrow Yukong was puzzled. Princess Divine Silkworm looked straight at Jiang Xingyi and said, "Jiang Xingyi, you have a carnate Dao embryo. You will definitely be able to obtain all the inheritance here. It should include the Jade Pool Immortal Sutra, right? You might even obtain something even more precious." Princess Divine Silkworm's words made the elites' breathing quicken. Their eyes were burning as they turned to Jiang Xingyi. It had to be said that Princess Divine Silkworm was very smart. She had deduced some things. Jiang Xingyi's gains were definitely not just the Jade Pool Baptism and the Tribulation Immortal Lotus on the surface. Jiang Xingyi frowned slightly as her eyes turned cold. Princess Divine Silkworm clearly wanted to roast her over the fire and make her the target of everyone. Ignoring everything else, just a complete Immortal Sutra's value was indescribable. Some Immortal factions' cornerstone cultivation techniques were only Immortal Sutras. Fortunately, Princess Divine Silkworm didn't know about the 9-orifice stone embryo. Otherwise, everyone present would go crazy when a sacred spirit embryo was born. "So what if I got it? Do you want to make a move?" Jiang Xingyi's voice was as calm as water. At this point, there was no need to hide anything anymore. "I know that you have the Jiang family of the Desolate Land backing you, and Jun Xiaoyao is supporting you. But you have to know that you won't be able to take this opportunity alone." Princess Divine Silkworm's eyes dimmed. The two beauties were competing. It had to be said that it was very interesting to watch. Just as the atmosphere froze. Finally, a prodigy couldn't help but make a move. He didn't ask to obtain the Tribulation Immortal Lotus or the Jade Pool Immortal Sutra. As long as he could enter the Jade Pool and receive a baptism, it would be a supreme opportunity. The prodigy used a divine ability, and a beam of dharmic power shot out. However, just as this beam of light landed on Jiang Xingyi, a rune barrier suddenly rose from the entire Jade Pool. The beam of dharmic power bombarded the rune barrier, but it didn't even cause a ripple. "Very good. It seems that this barrier is protecting you to receive the baptism in peace." In Jiang Xingyi's mind, Yu Qingning's voice sounded with a hint of joy. This way, Jiang Xingyi could safely receive the baptism and refine the Tribulation Transcendent's divine lotus. At that time, Jiang Xingyi's talent and strength would increase again, and he would be able to retreat calmly. Princess Divine Silkworm's pretty face couldn't help but change when she saw this scene. She raised her jade-like hand and casually blasted out a 9-colored divine light. The powerful fluctuation plowed a 1,000-foot ravine in the ground. However, the 9-colored divine light bombarded the rune barrier, but it only caused a faint ripple. How could this be? Princess Divine Silkworm clenched her jade-like hands. She had calculated everything, but she didn't expect this. Yarrow Yukong also made a move, but he still couldn't break through the rune barrier. What's going on? Can we only watch helplessly? Many prodigies couldn't help but make a move. All kinds of divine abilities fell on the rune barrier at the edge of the jade pool like raindrops. However, they could only cause ripples and couldn't break it at all. This way, they could only watch from the outside. This feeling of being unable to obtain a mountain of gold in front of them was too uncomfortable. Princess Divine Silkworm's beautiful face became even gloomier. There were only two kinds of relationships between outstanding women. They either admired each other or compared themselves to each other. Obviously, Princess Divine Silkworm wasn't willing to watch Jiang Shengyi receive the baptism and refine the immortal lotus. If she really digests this opportunity, coupled with the power of the carnate Dao embryo, she might really be able to suppress me. I absolutely won't allow it. Princess Divine Silkworm clenched her jade-like hands. But now, this barrier was like a natural chasm that separated Jiang Shengyi from the outside world. Unless Jiang Shengyi walked out herself. But was that possible? Just as Princess Divine Silkworm was a little anxious. Suddenly, 3 figures slowly emerged from the void. The figure in the lead, who was wearing a wolf-shaped mask on his face, said coldly, "Jiang Shengyi, I didn't expect you to have such an opportunity, but I have a piece of news here. I wonder if you're interested." All the prodigies gathered their gazes, and a look of astonishment appeared in their eyes. Jiang Shengyi's eyes were also as cold as frost. The people who appeared were Greed, Destruction, and 7 Kills, the 3 Great Bandit. Chapter 778. The 13 bandits of the ancient road were once fearsome existences. Any sky prides would have a fearful expression whenever they talked about them. However, this terrifying organization had provoked the even more terrifying Jun Xiaoyao. Jun Xiaoyao had slaughtered most of the 13 bandits. Only 4 bandits led by the immortal slaying bandit were left. Now, 3 of them had appeared. The sky prides were stunned by the appearance of the 3 bandits. One should know that the 13 bandits were like venomous snakes in the dark. They would usually only sneak up on others and attack them from behind. However, they had now appeared in public. This was very unusual. Do they have someone to rely on? Could it be that person? Some sky prides seemed to have thought of something and felt their hair stand on end. They looked around with fear in their eyes. The immortal slaying bandit. This mysterious leader of the 13 bandits had almost never appeared. However, to be able to become the leader of the 13 bandits, his strength must be absolutely terrifying. There were rumors before that the immortal slaying bandit's strength could kill outlawed sky prides as easily as eating and drinking. However, no matter how the sky prides probed, they could not detect any hidden aura. Princess Divine Silkworm and Yao Yukong were also surprised. They did not have a good impression of the infamous 13 bandits of the ancient road. However, after seeing that Tarantula and the others were targeting Jiang Shengyi, Princess Divine Silkworm and Yao Yukong decided to wait and see. "It's you gutter rats again. It seems that killing the moon-slaying bandit and the galactic destroyer bandit wasn't enough to intimidate you." Jiang Shengyi frowned, her eyes filled with cold disgust. She was disgusted by these bandits who went around assassinating, robbing others of their bloodlines. They had also coveted Jiang Shengyi's innate Daoist embryo. However, this was not what angered Jiang Shengyi the most. What angered her the most was that these bandits dared to set their sights on Jun Xiaoyao. They wanted to suppress Jiang Shengyi to lure Jun Xiaoyao into taking the bait and then rob him of his sacred body of the ancients. To Jiang Shengyi, this was absolutely unacceptable. Jiang Shengyi would kill anyone who dared to scheme against Jun Xiaoyao. "I have nothing to say to you. If you don't leave, then you will die." Jiang Shengyi's beautiful eyes surged with killing intent. She, who was as quiet as an immortal, seemed to have transformed into a killing immortal at this moment. However, Jiang Shengyi was not impulsive. Naturally, she wouldn't give up the chance to be baptized in the Jade Lake just to kill Tarantula and the others. Tarantula sneered and didn't care about Jiang Shengyi's attitude. She said lightly, "I told you, I'm here to tell you something." Not interested. Jiang Shengyi continued to cultivate and accept the baptism. "Oh, it's about Jiang Luoli. Aren't you interested?" Tarantula sneered. "What?" Jiang Shengyi's beautiful eyes suddenly emitted a cold light. His snow-white hair fluttered even though there was no wind. There were only a few people that Jiang Shengyi cared about. Besides Jun Xiaoyao, Jiang Luoli was also one of them. Although there was a gap between her and Jiang Luoli because of Jun Xiaoyao, it was resolved in the end. She had always regarded Jiang Luoli as her younger sister. "What did you do to Luoli?" Jiang Shengyi bit her red lips. If something happened to Jiang Luoli, she wouldn't be able to absolve herself from the blame. Nothing, she just entered the gate of life and death, Tarantula said with a smile. Boom. Jiang Shengyi felt as if thunder was rumbling in her mind. Her beautiful face immediately turned pale. She naturally knew what kind of place the Gate of Life and Death was. It was the most famous place in the buried Emperor Star. Since ancient times, very few people had been able to come out alive after entering it. What's more, in Jiang Shengyi's heart, Jiang Luoli had always been a naive and playful girl. How could someone like her withstand the trial of the Gate of Life and Death? You forced her. Jiang Shengyi's snow-white sleeves fluttered, and a murderous aura rose. We didn't force her. She wanted to go in herself. We just wanted to suppress her, Tarantula sneered. At the same time, Tarantula's eyes were filled with treachery under the wolf mask. He deliberately wanted to anger Jiang Shengyi. As long as she stepped out of the jade pool, it would be enough. You are unforgivable. Jiang Shengyi was furious. Her beautiful face was cold, and her jade-like face was filled with anger. Many people were surprised. This was the first time they had seen this fairy-like woman get angry. Shengyi, calm down. Your baptism isn't over yet. You haven't completely refined the Tribulation Transcendence Divine Lotus. Yu Qingning's cold voice resounded in Jiang Shengyi's mind. In Yu Qingning's eyes, Jiang Shengyi had always been a mature, calm, and intelligent woman. She wouldn't lose her composure like this. Master, I watched Luo Li grow up. She's like my biological sister. Now that we don't know whether she's dead or alive, how can Shengyi accept the baptism with peace of mind? Jiang Shengyi gritted her teeth and said in her heart. She naturally knew that this was Tarantula and the others' way of provoking her. They wanted to lure her out of the jade pool. However, she was worried about Jiang Luoli. You have to think carefully. If you go out now, not only will the opportunity be snatched by others, but you will also be in danger. Due to the rules of the buried Emperor Star, I can't help you. Yu Qingning's tone was extremely serious. I'm sorry, Master. Sometimes, even though you know that this choice is very stupid, you still have to do it. It's because Shengyi can't go against her heart. Jiang Shengyi silently said in her heart. Then, she suddenly stood up from the Tribulation Transcendence Lotus. Step by step, she walked out of the jade pool. Her body was surrounded by the radiance of the great Tao, making her look like a supreme and holy goddess of light. Seeing this scene, Yu Qingning sighed softly. She felt helpless. But more importantly, she felt gratified. Even though she knew that the choice was very stupid and would only bring her harm, she still had to do it. Perhaps this was what she admired about Jiang Shengyi the most. After all, who would want their disciple to be a person who only cared about profits? Seeing Jiang Shengyi walk out, not only did Tarantula and the others have killing intent in their eyes. Princess Divine Silkworm's eyes also flashed with a trace of joy. If Jiang Shengyi really digested the opportunity, she would definitely feel uncomfortable. Now, she also had a chance to fight for the opportunity. The Jade Pool Immortal Sutra should be with her. Maybe there are other rare treasures. Princess Divine Silkworm's eyes changed. Boom. Jiang Shengyi stepped out of the Jade Pool. At that moment, the Jade Pool's runic barrier suddenly dimmed. Obviously, it was because there was no one to protect. Soon, the entire runic barrier would disappear. At that time, everyone would have a chance to enter, receive the baptism, and obtain the Tribulation Transcendence Lotus. Heh! You've chosen to walk right into our trap. Tarantula and the others channeled their magic power at the same time, and their auras rose. These three's strength was second only to the immortal execution bandits among the 13 bandits. When the three of them joined forces, even the supreme outlawed Skyprides would be wary. Today, you're the ones who will die. Jiang Shengyi's snow-white clothes fluttered, and her snow-white hair danced in the wind. She must kill these three today, and then go to the Gate of Life and Death to find out about Jiang Luoli's situation. Just as both sides were about to draw their swords, Princess Divine Silkworm suddenly stepped out and looked straight at Jiang Shengyi, saying, Jiang Shengyi, the Jade Pool Immortal Sutra should be with you, right? Chapter 779. Princess Divine Silkworm's words not only made Jiang Shengyi frown, but it also surprised the surrounding prodigies. They didn't expect Princess Divine Silkworm to make things difficult for them at this time. Could it be that Princess Divine Silkworm wants to take the opportunity to suppress the Jiang family's Divine Lady with the other bandits? The surrounding prodigies guessed. Now that the rune barrier had yet to be removed, they naturally couldn't compete for the Jade Pool baptism and the tribulation transcending immortal lotus. Therefore, Princess Divine Silkworm turned her attention to Jiang Shengyi. However, it wasn't too honorable to suppress her together with the 13 bandits. After all, the 13 bandits were notorious and hated by everyone. However, with Princess Divine Silkworm's status, no one dared to question her. So, you guys want to make a move too? Jiang Shengyi's expression was as cold as frost. It's not absolute. As long as you are willing to share the Jade Pool Immortal Sutra with me, I can promise not to make a move. Princess Divine Silkworm combed her soft hair with her jade-like hands, her expression as calm as water. That's right, we are not unreasonable people, Yarrow Yukong chimed in. When Tarantula and the other two saw this scene, a playful look appeared in their eyes. It seemed like there were still helpers. You guys are dreaming. Tear off that hypocritical mask, Jiang Shengyi said coldly. Sigh, I know what your confidence is. It's none other than Jun Xiaoyao. Let's not talk about whether he is here or not. Even if he is here, it won't change anything. Princess Divine Silkworm, Yarrow Yukong, Tan Lang, Po Jun, and Qi Shuo, the 3 bandits. They might even attract that extremely mysterious immortal slaying bandit. In Princess Divine Silkworm's opinion, even if Jun Xiaoyao came, he wouldn't be able to change the situation. A frog at the bottom of a well doesn't know the vastness of the sea, Jiang Shengyi said sarcastically. Many prodigies had tried to figure out Jun Xiaoyao's true strength. But without exception, they were all slapped in the face. Jun Xiaoyao's strength was immeasurable. If it could be measured, then he wouldn't be Jun Xiaoyao. How dare you? Before Princess Divine Silkworm could say anything, Yarrow Yukong directly attacked. He wanted to help Princess Divine Silkworm obtain the Jade Pool Immortal Sutra. Heavenly Demon devours the world. Yarrow Yukong's first move was an extreme move. His magic power surged, and his demonic aura surged. An incomparably gigantic blood-colored demonic shadow appeared, as if it wanted to devour everything in the world. It was terrifying to the extreme. This move was enough to prove Yarrow Yukong's strength. However, Jiang Shengyi's snow-white hair fluttered in the wind. She, who had been training alone all this time, had long transformed and sublimated. She was no longer the same as before. Jiang Shengyi reached out with her jade-like hand. The radiance of the Great Path flickered, and divine chains of order appeared, shooting out like dragons and snakes. The innate Tao embryo had an affinity with the Tao and could control the great Tao at will. In Jiang Shengyi's hands, the Tao of all things in the world had transformed into the most brilliant divine chains of order. Boom! Many divine chains of order shot out and tore the terrifying blood-red demonic shadow apart. At the sight of this, many of the surrounding sky prides sighed. The natural embryo of Tao was truly powerful. Great Tao Cage. Jiang Shengyi's 5 slender fingers grasped toward the void. In an instant, many space-sealing runes flashed around Yarrow Yukong. The Tao patterns of heaven and earth seemed to have transformed into chains that intertwined with each other to form a cage, imprisoning Yarrow Yukong within. Then, at the critical moment, Jiang Shengyi waved her jade-like hand again. Endless dazzling runes gathered and transformed into a great Tao blade that seemed to be able to cut through time and space. The Great Tao Blade. When Yarrow Yukong saw this scene, a hint of shock appeared in his eyes. He didn't expect Jiang Shengyi's strength to be so strong. Just as he was about to use his ultimate move, Princess Divine Silkworm made her move. The 9 immortal divine rings behind her head flickered, and 9 colored divine light flickered. It was like a sword of light that slashed down horizontally. Rumble. The Tao sound was like rolling thunder, exploding in everyone's ears. Jiang Shengyi, your choice is very unwise. Princess Divine Silkworm's tone was indifferent. Yarrow Yukong's demonic power burst forth, and a huge heavenly demon phantom seemed to appear behind him, breaking open the great Tao cage. His expression didn't look too good. He originally wanted to show off in front of Princess Divine Silkworm, but who would have thought that Princess Divine Silkworm would help him instead? Heh, how about this? We only want Jiang Shengyi, and you can take the Jade Pool Immortal Sutra and other opportunities. How about it? Tarantula looked at Princess Divine Silkworm and said. Their main target was only Jiang Shengyi's carnate Dao embryo. After that, they would target Jun Xiaoyaro through Jiang Shengyi. Princess Divine Silkworm nodded lightly and said, sure. Next, Princess Divine Silkworm, Yarrow Yukong, Tarantula, the Army Destroyer Bandits, and the 7 Kill Bandits. A total of 5 people surrounded Jiang Shengyi. This time, the Jiang family's goddess is really in trouble, the surrounding prodigies said. However, there was no fear in Jiang Shengyi's eyes. Go! Tarantula and the others were the first to attack. The greedy wolf howls at the moon, the blood sword across the sky, and other powerful mystical abilities were displayed. Jiang Shengyi's expression was cold as she calmly dealt with them. Endless Dao law radiance bloomed from her body. Although Jiang Shengyi didn't fully undergo the baptism, she had also obtained a partial sublimation and refined a portion of the power of the Tribulation Transcendence Immortal Lotus. At this moment, she was in her peak state. A generation of flowers. Jiang Shengyi's snow-white clothes fluttered like a fairy. Countless snow-white petals fell like rain. Upon closer inspection, each petal was formed from great Dao runes. This was a Dao flower rain. Boom, boom, boom. Each petal was enough to instantly shatter a mountain range, and the ground was full of holes. Tarantula and the others were all blasted back, blood flowing from their mouths. Yarrow Yukong also attacked. Princess Divine Silkworm was a step behind. Her eyes flickered with multicolored light as she probed Jiang Shengyi's background. Tarantula and the others calmed down the surging blood in their hearts and said coldly, "You're just struggling on your deathbed." I said, "You must die today." Jiang Shengyi's jade-like legs moved, creating lotuses with each step. Her speed was extremely fast, and she instantly landed in front of Tarantula and the others. Then, Jiang Shengyi raised her hand and activated the power of the carnate Dao embryo. Extreme power of the Dao emerged, accompanied by surging immortal light. Finally, it turned into a great Dao treasure bottle in her hand. As the great Dao treasure bottle spun, endless runes and divine chains interweave. The mouth of the bottle was like a black hole, crushing and disintegrating everything. This was an extremely powerful move activated by the carnate Dao embryo. It was enough to shock the world, and even a supreme taboo would have goosebumps. Retreat! The greedy wolf bandit shouted. However, she was a step too late. The 7 slaughter bandits of the 3 bandits were directly pulled by the suction force and sucked into the great Dao treasure bottle. He didn't even have time to scream before he was instantly disintegrated, turning into particles smaller than dust. The surroundings were dead silent. Princess Divine Silkworm's eyes also narrowed, and there was fear in them. Jiang Shengyi's slender figure, snow-white clothes fluttering, and her black hair fluttering. She had a peerless beauty and the power to kill immortals. Chapter 780. At this moment, Jiang Shengyi was valiant to the extreme. She was clearly an ethereal and beautiful woman, but now, she was like a female war immortal. One of the 3 great bandits, the 7 slaughter bandits, was killed by her. One had to know that Jiang Shengyi was currently being besieged. To be able to kill one of them was enough to prove Jiang Shengyi's strength. She wasn't just a flower vase. She didn't have to rely on Jun Xiaoyaro. She alone was enough to make a name for herself. Damn it, if you don't try your best, don't think about getting what you want. Tarantula's expression was very ugly as she turned to look at Princess Divine Silkworm. "There's no need for you to say anything," Princess Divine Silkworm said coldly. To be honest, Jiang Shengyi's strength had really exceeded her expectations. She originally thought that even if she didn't make a move, Jiang Shengyi should be subdued. Princess Divine Silkworm also made her move. Her 9-colored divine halo flickered, and the light beam that shot out annihilated heaven and earth, causing the void to collapse. Yarrow Yukong also made his move, his demonic aura shocking the world. Tarantula and the army bandit naturally didn't need to say anything. They also attacked with all their might. For a time, The four young powerhouses suppressed Jiang Shengyi. When Princess Divine Silkworm made her move and joined the battle, the situation immediately changed. Princess Divine Silkworm was a 9 transformations celestial silkworm. Her strength was shocking, and she was extremely famous in the ancient road of ultimate. She alone was enough to deal with Jiang Shengyi. Not to mention, there was also Yarrow Yukong, Tarantula, and the army bandit. The situation immediately took a turn for the worse. Jiang Shengyi was forced to retreat. Jiang Shengyi, struggling is futile. Hand over the Jade Pool Immortal Sutra, and there's still room for negotiation, Princess Divine Silkworm said coldly. Dream on, Jiang Shengyi said coldly. Then don't blame me. Heaven and Earth Net. Princess Divine Silkworm waved her jade-like arm, and her magic power burst out, transforming into a 9-colored light. Then, the 9-colored light split into countless threads that intertwined with each other, as if they had transformed into a 9-colored net that covered the sky and the sun. It was simply able to envelop heaven and earth. This was a shocking great divine ability of the Divine Silkworm Valley. It could encompass all things and then refine them. Jiang Shengyi also made a move. The great Tao treasure vase above his head spun, producing tens of thousands of runes to resist Princess Divine Silkworm's killer move. Yarrow Yukong and the others also moved to suppress Jiang Shengyi. The situation was extremely unfavorable to Jiang Shengyi. Seeing this, the surrounding skyprides sighed. Jiang Shengyi's performance was worthy of her reputation. However, even the supreme outlawed skyprides would be troubled by such a lineup. Not everyone could be like Jun Xiaoyao, who was able to completely ignore the number of opponents and crush them all at once. Under such a siege, even someone as strong as Jiang Shengyi coughed up blood. Bright red blood dripped onto her snow-white clothes like blooming peach blossoms. The girls of the Jiang family are all so stubborn. Tarantula cursed inwardly. Whether it was Jiang Luoli or Jiang Shengyi, they were both so stubborn that they would never give in. Jun Xiaoyao was the only one who could make them submit. Annihilation net. Princess Divine Silkworm reached out and grabbed at the void. Suddenly, the 9-colored net spewed out 9-colored divine flames. Upon closer inspection, the divine flames were actually formed by endless runes. It was like a furnace that was about to trap Jiang Shengyi and refine her. Supreme Vase Seal. Jiang Shengyi pushed out her jade-like hand, and the great Tao treasure vase turned into a shocking divine seal. The seal blasted out, suppressing the universe. The net of threads that covered the sky was directly torn apart. Boom! A deafening roar exploded in the sky. Both sides retreated at the same time. Jiang Shengyi's delicate body trembled, and she coughed up another mouthful of blood. However, at this moment, Yu Qingning's voice suddenly sounded in Jiang Shengyi's mind. Shengyi, watch your back. Jiang Shengyi's heart tightened. The void behind her was suddenly torn apart like a piece of paper. A slender figure flashed out from it. Holding a pitch-black scythe in her hand, she looked like the legendary Grim Reaper. The scythe slashed down, tearing through the void. Even Jiang Shengyi couldn't react for a moment, and she couldn't resist. She could only shift her body and try her best to dodge. Slash. The scythe cut Jiang Shengyi's jade-like back, and blood splattered out. Cough. Jiang Shengyi's figure fell from the sky, and her face was as pale as a sheet of paper. On her jade-like back, there was a hideous wound that was so deep that her bones could be seen, indicating the power of this attack. Fortunately, Jiang Shengyi's delicate body had been tempered by Jun Xiaoyao's sacred body blood essence. Otherwise, this attack might have even cut Jiang Shengyi's delicate body in half. This sudden scene could be said to have caused everyone present to be stunned. Who would have thought that someone would launch a sneak attack? Everyone's gaze turned to the figure that had suddenly appeared. With a single glance, everyone was stunned. It was a young girl. The young girl's body was as slender as a willow. She wore a black silk dress, and her jet-black hair flowed down like a waterfall. Her limbs were slender and delicate, and her skin was so pale that it seemed transparent. Some bandages were wrapped around her jade-like arms and slender legs. In her jade-like hand was a scythe of the Grim Reaper that was taller than her. On her face was a ghost mask that seemed to be crying and laughing at the same time. She looked like an evil spirit in the dark night. Like the black rose, she gave people a morbid and fatal illusion of beauty. Boss Xian Yu. Tarantula and the army bandit looked a little excited when they saw the young girl. The young girl who had appeared was the leader of the 13 bandits, the immortal slaying bandit, Xian Yu. What? She's the legendary immortal slaying bandit. Hearing Tarantula and the others' words, the thousands of Sky Prides were stunned. They had thought that the legendary immortal slaying bandit would be a ferocious burly man or an extremely cruel demon. Who would have thought that the cruel leader of the 13 bandits would be a young girl? However, this young girl exuded the aura of death. Immortal slaying bandit, Jiang Shengyi's mouth was full of blood. The hideous wound on his back was also bleeding. Xian Yu's sneak attack had severely injured the immortal slaying bandit. The young girl held the scythe of the Grim Reaper in her hand. Her ink-black hair danced in the wind, and a red spider lily was engraved on her collarbone like the wings of a butterfly. She stood quietly in the sky. Dead silence. No one dared to make a sound. Under the ghost mask, the young girl's gaze fell on Jiang Shengyi. It was extremely cold. It was the gaze of a hunter staring at his prey. Your carnate Dao embryo is mine. Xian Yu's voice was as clear as the rain and as cold as the frost. As soon as she finished speaking, Xian Yu's slender feet tapped lightly on the void. Like a ghost, she instantly appeared in front of Jiang Shengyi. The Grim Reaper's scythe in her hand slashed down. It was as if the shadow of death was covering him. Splat. Although Jiang Shengyi tried to resist, he still spat out a mouthful of blood. Tarantula, the army bandit, and the others saw this and also charged forward. Yarrow Yukong also attacked. The immortal slaying bandit is really a terrifying character. However, this way, Jiang Shengyi will definitely die. Princess Divine Silkworm thought to herself. The aura of the immortal slaying bandit made her feel a strong sense of fear. This was definitely a supreme taboo-level existence. However, what puzzled Princess Divine Silkworm was that she felt a lot of mixed auras on Xian Yu. It was as if various bloodlines and constitutions had fused together. This made Princess Divine Silkworm's hair stand on end. What kind of path was he going to take? Chapter 781. Many people had guessed what kind of person the leader of the 13 bandits was. Now, she had finally shown herself, which was beyond everyone's expectations. It wasn't just because the rumored immortal execution bandit was a young girl. It was also because she was so powerful that it made people tremble in fear. I heard that the 13 bandits collected all kinds of talents and blood. Now it seems like they have all been refined by the immortal slaying bandit. That should be the case. Although the aura is powerful, it is also mixed. How is that possible? How can someone refine so many talents and blood? The immortal slaying bandit Xian Yu's cultivation path made many of the Sky Prides tremble in fear. It was a path of slaughter and exploitation. If Xian Yu wanted to improve, she had to kill more people to obtain more bloodlines and talents. No wonder she would attack the divine lady of the Jiang family. The carnate Taoist embryo is one of the top talents. The Sky Prides now understood why the immortal slaying bandit would target Jiang Shengyi. To Xian Yu, Jiang Shengyi was a big piece of meat. If the immortal slaying bandit successfully devours the carnate Taoist embryo and obtains the sacred body blood essence, then many people thought of the same thing. If she really succeeded, then Xian Yu would become the most powerful person in this era. You are the one who targeted Xiao Yarrow? Jiang Shengyi endured the pain on her back. Her beautiful eyes were as cold as ice as she looked at the slender figure in the sky. Xian Yu's black hair fluttered in the wind. Only a black silk dress wrapped around her slender body. Her fair arms and legs were wrapped in bandages, which gave her a sickly beauty. You and Jun Xiaoyaro must die, Xian Yu said in a cold voice. How dare you? Jiang Shengyi shouted. She gathered her dharmic powers and pushed the power of the carnate Taoist embryo to the maximum. Countless chains of the great Tao appeared around her and shot towards the sky, trying to seal that space. Xian Yu also moved. The death scythe in her hand exuded the aura of a boundary emperor weapon. As the death scythe swung, the chains of the great Tao were broken. Tao sounds rumbled. Boss is here. There is no doubt about the result today. The army bandit sneered. Even without Xian Yu, Jiang Shengyi was at an absolute disadvantage. Now, Xian Yu showed up in person and tried to steal Jiang Shengyi's carnate Dao embryo. The result was obvious. Next, Tarantula, Army Destroyer, Princess Divine Silkworm, and Yarrow Yukong made their moves again. In addition, there was also the terrifying and mysterious immortal slaying bandit Xian Yu. Jiang Shengyi was instantly suppressed to the extreme. It was difficult to even resist. This was especially true for Princess Divine Silkworm and Xian Yu. Their methods were astonishing, causing Jiang Shengyi, who was already heavily injured, to suffer even more injuries. Shengyi, Yu Qingning's forbearing voice sounded in Jiang Shengyi's mind. Looking at Jiang Shengyi, who was covered in wounds and whose snow-white clothes were dyed red, Yu Qingning was in great pain. Master, this is Shengyi's own choice. I don't regret it. Even though she was surrounded and on the verge of despair, Jiang Shengyi still comforted Yu Qingning in her heart. She also knew that due to the suppression of the buried Emperor Star's laws, Yu Qingning couldn't help her. Boom. After another collision, Jiang Shengyi was sent flying like a butterfly with broken wings. Her body was covered in wounds. TSK, TSK. Who would have thought that the famous Jiang family's divine daughter would be in such a sorry state? Yarrow Yukong revealed a sinister smile. For some reason, looking at the injured Jiang Shengyi, Yarrow Yukong felt a kind of sick pleasure in his heart. That kind of mentality was as if since he couldn't obtain something beautiful, he would destroy it. Why would such a peerless beauty fall in love with Jun Xiaoyaro? Why would Jun Xiaoyaro receive the admiration and worship of so many outstanding women? Yarrow Yukong had to admit that he was jealous of Jun Xiaoyaro. On the other side, Princess Divine Silkworm had an indifferent expression. In fact, she also wanted to see Jiang Shengyi die with her own eyes. After all, she couldn't tolerate the existence of a woman more outstanding than her. As for Xian Yu, because she was wearing a grimace mask on her face, no one could see her expression. King of Hell's decree, Death God's crossing, Xian Yu's figure flashed, and the Death God's scythe in her hand swept out. The pitch-black scythe light tore through the sky, as if plowing open a crack in the abyss and opening the entrance to hell. Under such a powerful attack, Jiang Shengyi finally couldn't hold on any longer. Her delicate body was sent flying, and she was completely defeated. Was it because she was weak? Not at all. If it were any other outlawed skyprides, it would be difficult for them to face such a situation. After all, Xian Yu, the immortal slaying bandit, alone was enough to deal with an outlawed skyprides. Die. In an instant, Xian Yu's figure flashed, and she appeared in front of Jiang Shengyi as if she had teleported. Then, she stretched out a snow-white arm. Slash. Her jade-like hand pierced Jiang Shengyi's chest. This scene made all the skyprides lose their voices. Their hair stood on end, and chills ran down their spines. Asterisk cough asterisk. Asterisk Jiang Shengyi coughed out mouthfuls of blood. The blood dyed her snow-white robe red, and she looked extremely pitiful. She stared at the girl who was so close to her. Under the grimace mask, the girl's eyes were as cold as ice. It was hard to imagine what the girl had gone through to become so cold-blooded and heartless. Pitch-black divine chains of order spread out of Xian Yu's body and penetrated Jiang Shengyi's delicate body. Then, Jiang Shengyi immediately sensed the power of her innate spirit embryo being absorbed by the pitch-black divine chains. It was like a vampire was absorbing the power of Jiang Shengyi's innate spirit embryo. The eerie scene caused the entire place to fall silent. All the skyprides felt a chill run down their spines. Such a method was definitely the most demonic method in the Nine Heavens immortal realm. Such a cruel method, how is it any different from the creatures of the foreign realm? A skypride asked in fear. Even Princess Godly Silkworm and Yarrow Yukong felt a little uncomfortable after witnessing such a scene. Only Tarantula and Pejuan remained calm. They even had a hint of excitement on their faces. Once Xian Yu absorbed the power of the innate spirit embryo, even Jun Xiaoyaro, who was rumored to be unbeatable, would not stand a chance against her. Tarantula and the others were confident in their chances. Is this the only way? Jiang Shengyi felt her consciousness gradually blurring. She had worked hard enough. She had relied on herself all the way from the ultimate ancient road. She did it so she would not be a burden to Jun Xiaoyaro in the future. She wanted to be his right-hand woman. It seemed like it was no longer possible now. However, Jiang Xingyi did not regret her decision. Even if she was given another chance, she would still stubbornly walk out of the Naka Lake. It was her will and determination. Shengyi, Yu Qingning's sigh appeared in Jiang Xingyi's mind. Sure enough, the situation she was most unwilling to see had happened. Shengyi, how can I let you die here? Yu Qingning was determined. She had already mentally prepared herself. If Jiang Xingyi was really in a desperate situation, she would help Jiang Xingyi out of danger even if her soul was scattered. Just as Yu Qingning was about to activate the power of her remnant soul, rumble, there was a sudden explosion between heaven and earth, and the sky began to collapse. A huge crack appeared in the void as if there was an extremely terrifying force breaking through the void. In an instant, the sky above Jiang Xingyi and Xian Yu was split into two by an invisible force. The spatial abyss spanned 100,000 miles across the sky. An incomparably transcendent figure crossed over, as if a god had descended, as if a divine king had descended. A hand of law pressed down as if the sky had collapsed. The terrifying power covered the entire area as if a god was enraged and wanted to destroy all life. How dare you touch Jun Xiaoyao's woman? You're courting death. Chapter 782. His cold shout resounded through the sky for thousands of miles. The terrifying hand of law was like a world crushing down. The void below was directly crushed, revealing pitch-black spatial turbulence. When Xian Yu saw this scene, the cold eyes under the ghost mask flashed slightly, and her figure hurriedly retreated. Boom! The void in that area directly collapsed. The scene was terrifying to the extreme. Violent ripples of magic power surged out with a loud bang. Tarantula, Jun Po, Yarrow Yukong, and the others were all affected. Their chests were stuffy, and they spat out a mouthful of blood. Their faces were filled with incomparable horror. It was just the aftermath of the move, but it actually caused them to spit out a mouthful of blood. This was ridiculous. Princess Divine Silkworm and Xian Yu also retreated. This fluctuation, could it be that he's here? Princess Divine Silkworm's expression suddenly changed, and there was a trace of unnaturalness. This fluctuation was far beyond her imagination. The sudden scene seemed to make everyone's minds stop for a moment. In the next moment, they saw the white-robed figure stepping out of the crack in the sky. In the dense immortal light, the figure of the Daoist priest stood upright like a true immortal descending into the world. Within the radiance, that handsome and flawless face was ice-cold. Especially when they saw the beauty whose snow-white clothes were dyed red and covered in wounds. A shocking killing intent caused the sky to change color, and the temperature between heaven and earth plummeted. Some of the weak-willed people even almost knelt on the ground. That aura, that killing intent, was so strong that it caused the void to boil. Jun Xiaoyao. Many prodigies spat out the name that shook the ancient road at the same time. There was no need to elaborate on his legend. He was clearly just a young man in his 20s. But he gave people the feeling that he had become a taboo existence that had been recorded in history. At this moment, his arrival suddenly changed the situation of the battle. No one dared to ignore Jun Xiaoyao's power. Sister Shengyi. Jun Xiaoyaro flashed and rushed to Jiang Xingyi's side. He wrapped an arm around her slender waist and supported her swaying body. At this moment, Jiang Xingyi's snow-white clothes were completely dyed red. In addition to various wounds, there were also holes on his body. It was Xian Yu, who had absorbed the power of her carnate Taoist embryo through the black divine chains. But fortunately, Jun Xiaoyaro arrived in time, and Jiang Xingyi was not seriously injured. But even so, at this moment, Jiang Xingyi was incomparably bleak, like a withered flower. Seeing that handsome face that she had not seen for a long time, Jiang Xingyi's immortal face revealed a blood-stained smile. She raised her somewhat weak jade arm and stroked Jun Xiaoyao's forehead and the side of his face. It was as if he was trying to draw the outline of the person he liked stroke by stroke. It had only been a few years, but it felt like 3 lifetimes. This might be the so-called a day apart feels like 3 years. Sister Shengyi, I'm sorry, Zhang Xiaoyao said in a low voice. He had thought that Jiang Xingyi was peacefully accepting the inheritance of the Queen Mother of the West, and there should not be any big problems. Who would have thought that he would see Jiang Xingyi in such a miserable state as soon as he arrived? Zhang Xiaoyao was not a person who got angry easily. But at this moment, he was really angry. No. Xiaoyao, I should be the one saying sorry. I need you to save me again. Jiang Xingyi smiled feebly. It was the same last time. In order to leave the divine embryo to Zhang Xiaoyao, she fought with all her strength. In the end, it was also Zhang Xiaoyao who saved the day and killed everyone. From then on, Jiang Xingyi silently swore in her heart that she would work hard to cultivate. She might not be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Zhang Xiaoyao, but at least she had to be qualified to stand beside him and not be a burden to him. As such, she stepped onto the ancient road alone, enduring the torment of her longing and not looking for Zhang Xiaoyao. Separation was for the sake of a longer time. But now, it was still Zhang Xiaoyao who came to save her. Jiang Xingyi felt very guilty. Looking at the woman in front of him who was seriously injured but still felt guilty, Zhang Xiaoyao's pity finally turned into a sigh. Jiang Xingyi was like this. No matter how much she was hurt, she would silently endure it. But for the people she cared about, she would do anything. It was the same for Zhang Xiaoyao, and it was the same for Jiang Luoli. Sister Xingyi, you are too silly. Actually, you don't have to do this. Zhang Xiaoyao really did not want to see Jiang Xingyi sacrifice herself just to follow in his footsteps. It was not necessary. No, this is my choice. From the moment you left without saying goodbye and stepped onto the ancient road alone, I swore that I would follow by your side. Jiang Xingyi's beautiful eyes were filled with endless longing. She was actually very afraid. She was afraid that one day in the future, a great calamity would descend and Zhang Xiaoyao would have to face everything alone. No one would be able to stand by his side. That kind of feeling was too lonely. While it was said that the strong were always lonely, Jiang Xingyi didn't want to have to watch Zhang Xiaoyao dominate the world all by himself in the future. Moreover, after seeing the tragic story of the Wu Tian Heavenly Emperor and the Queen Mother of the West, Jiang Xingyi was even more determined. She wanted to be with Zhang Xiaoyao for a long time. Seeing the affection flowing silently in the beautiful woman's eyes, Zhang Xiaoyao fell silent. Jiang Xingyi cultivated so hard not to prove her Dao or become a heavenly emperor, but to be by his side. Sister Xingyi, recuperate well first. Let me deal with this group of ants first. Zhang Xiaoyao forced out some sacred body blood essence from his body and directly fused it with Jiang Xingyi's injured body. Then, he took out some healing sacred medicine for her. After that, Zhang Xiaoyao turned around and faced Princess Divine Silkworm and the others. Jiang Xingyi looked at Zhang Xiaoyao's silhouette and was stunned for a moment. He said that I'm his woman. When she thought of what Zhang Xiaoyao said when he appeared, Jiang Xingyi couldn't help but smile shyly and happily. Although that might have been what Zhang Xiaoyao said subconsciously, it was enough to make Jiang Xingyi feel sweet for a long time. Is he Zhang Xiaoyao? Yu Qingning finally saw the man her disciple had been longing for. To be honest, seeing was better than hearing 100 times. His temperament was extraordinary. As the former sect master of the Jade Lake, Yu Qingning was a little amazed. In her era, even the most outstanding peerless genius couldn't compare to 1% of the figure in front of her. However, she didn't know how strong he really was. When facing Jiang Xingyi, Zhang Xiaoyao's expression was gentle. But when he turned to Princess Divine Silkworm and the others, there was only coldness on his peerless handsome face. It seems that this son of God hasn't killed enough on the ancient road to intimidate you rascals. Extreme killing intent leaked out, and wherever it passed, the air seemed to freeze. Princess Divine Silkworm and the others didn't look too good. As for immortal slaying thief Shen Yu, from the moment Zhang Xiaoyao appeared, she was in a daze. No, impossible. Absolutely impossible, Shen Yu muttered in a voice that only she could hear. The cold eyes under the mask were chaotic and in disbelief. The person in front of her, that face, why did it look similar to the person she had killed with her own hands? In a trance, she seemed to see that figure. The figure that had protected her since she was young. She thought that her heart had died when she killed that person with her own hands. But now, his heart was throbbing silently. Brother. Chapter 783. The face of Jun Xiaoyaro in front of her was somewhat similar to that of her brother in Xian Yu's memory. Of course, they were only somewhat similar but not exactly the same. After all, there was no one as handsome as Jun Xiaoyaro in the entire world. But even though they were only somewhat similar, it was enough to make Xian Yu lose her mind and feel as if she had been struck by lightning. She had never expected that the person she had made up her mind to kill would be somewhat similar to her brother. The memories that she had buried deep in her heart and didn't want to remember surged out. On the other side, Jun Xiaoyaro didn't waste any time and directly made his move. Jun Xiaoyaro didn't waste any time on this group of people who wanted to kill Jiang Shengyi. He casually stretched out his hand and the Dharma power of a supreme sage surged out. Ripples appeared in the void and various Dharma lights appeared. At Jun Xiaoyao's level of cultivation, he didn't need to deliberately use any divine powers. His every move was comparable to a divine powers and could destroy heaven and earth. Jun Xiaoyaro first stretched out his hand toward Xian Yu. It wasn't only because Xian Yu had hurt Jiang Shengyi the most. It was also because she had many secrets. For example, she and the 13 bandits were from a force called the Parameter Organization. The Parameter Organization was a force under the command of the Emperor family of the foreign lands. In addition, this girl was wearing a familiar ghost mask. There was also a scarlet-red spider lily engraved on her collarbone. Jun Xiaoyaro felt that he should be able to find out some secrets from this girl. Besides, there was another important point. That was, this girl was one of the 7 defiant sovereigns. Based on this point alone, Jun Xiaoyaro had no reason not to kill her. However, facing Jun Xiaoyao's attack, Xian Yu was still in a trance as if she had fallen into some kind of nightmare. This girl. Xian Yu's indifference made Jun Xiaoyaro frown slightly. What was this immortal slaying bandit trying to do? As one of the 7 defiant sovereigns, she should be more than happy to attack him. Boss Xian Yu. When the greedy wolf bandit and broken army bandit saw that Mystic Moon was not moving, their expressions changed. In a flash, they appeared in front of Xian Yu. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. You overestimate yourself. Jun Xiaoyaro snorted. His palm was surrounded by qi and blood of the sacred body and deity aura. It was like the hand of God. Puff. The 2 bandits retreated at the same time. The army destroyer bandit, whose cultivation was slightly weaker, exploded under this palm. Even his primordial spirit could not escape and was crushed into nothingness. There were no moves or divine abilities. It was just a simple palm strike. The army destroyer bandits had fallen, and Tarantula had suffered heavy losses. Hiss, countless gasps could be heard from all directions. Tarantula and army destroyer were not at the level of supreme outlawed sky prides. But it wasn't much weaker. But now, in Jun Xiaoyao's hands, he couldn't even last one round. When Princess Divine Silkworm saw this scene, a strong sense of uneasiness arose in her heart. She seemed to have misjudged Jun Xiaoyao's strength. Even Yarrow Yukong, who looked down on Jun Xiaoyaro in the beginning, was completely speechless at this moment. He now felt that his relationship with Princess Divine Silkworm was just as Jiang Shengyi had said. A frog at the bottom of a well did not know the vastness of the ocean. Some of the army destroyer bandit's blood splattered on Mystic Moon's body. She finally came back to her senses. In the blink of an eye, the army destroyer bandit had fallen, and Tarantula had suffered heavy losses. However, Mystic Moon's cold eyes did not waver at all. So what if they were dead? Mystic Moon had no feelings for her subordinates. In other words, ever since she killed her brother with her own hands, she no longer had any human feelings. But now, when she saw that familiar handsome face again, she couldn't help but wonder. Mystic Moon's dead heart seemed to have skipped a beat. Boss Mystic Moon, Tarantula shouted. He did not understand why his boss was not doing anything. Wasn't she one of the 7 rebellious sovereigns? Logically speaking, she should be more determined to kill Jun Xiaoyaro. However, Jun Xiaoyaro would not give them any more time. Are you still trying to be mysterious in front of the Son of God? Jun Xiaoyao's lips curled into a cold smile. For some reason, when she looked at Zhang Xiaoyao's cold and indifferent eyes, Mystic Moon suddenly felt a stabbing pain in her heart. It was as if the people closest to her had turned against each other. Why? He's the one I should kill. Mystic Moon's slender hand, which was wrapped in bandages, held the death scythe tightly. Her previous plan was to integrate with the seal of Proving Way and obtain the innate embryo of Taoism. Then, she would kill Zhang Xiaoyaro and integrate with the sacred body of the ancients. After attaining the supreme physique, she would be crowned with the heavenly crown. Finally, she would return to the foreign realm and step on the reincarnation cycle to the other side. But now, after seeing Zhang Xiaoyaro, Mystic Moon's cold and ruthless heart was disturbed for the first time. She suddenly felt a little lost. But now, Zhang Xiaoyaro would not give her a chance to think. Zhang Xiaoyaro threw another punch at Yi Futian. The glow of his fist lit up the sky like a bolt of lightning. The Kuan Peng Infinite Divine Fist was performed. The huge shadow of the Kuan Peng filled the sky. With a flick of its tail, tens of thousands of runes rippled. Go! Yarrow Yukong and Princess Divine Silkworm also knew that the situation was not good. If they still held back at this time, they would really be courting death. Behind Princess Divine Silkworm's head, 9 divine halos flickered with immortal light. 9 colored divine light surged out. The runes that covered the sky and earth shot out in the form of 9 colored threads, as if they were going to seal the Forbidden Land. Yarrow Yukong also used his trump card, casting the Heaven Fei Ancient Temple's Fei Emperor Immortal Sutra. An illusory demon Emperor Dharma idol appeared. Demonic aura surged into the 9 heavens imperial court. Tarantula, who was severely injured, also spared no effort and performed the ultimate move, Bloodwolf Swallows the Moon. Mystic Moon, who had been motionless all this time, finally moved. She brandished the death scythe. However, compared to when she attacked Jiang Shengyi, the power of Mystic Moon's attack was clearly much weaker. The 4 young powerhouses collided with Zhang Xiaoyao's single move. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the battle. Although Jiang Shengyi was strong, he did not have the strength to resist when facing the combined forces of these people. Now, if it was Zhang Xiaoyaro, what would the result be? Boom! A deafening sound rumbled. Dharmic powers stirred up a monstrous wave that washed out. Just the fluctuation alone was enough to send a quasi-sage flying backward while vomiting blood. Under such a collision, the result was Tarantula's body exploded. Unable to withstand the pressure, his essence soul cracked and he perished completely. Yarrow Yukong also coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. He had completely lost his bearing as a young taboo of the ancient Heaven Fei Temple. As for Princess Divine Silkworm and Mystic Moon, they had the highest cultivation levels among the group. However, they were still sent retreating. Princess Divine Silkworm felt her blood churning in her chest. A mouthful of blood surged up her throat before she swallowed it. In contrast, Zhang Xiaoyao's white robes fluttered as he looked peerless. Powerful, still powerful. Invincible, still invincible. You have to pay the price for doing something wrong, right? Zhang Xiaoyao's cold voice resounded throughout the world. He slowly extended his palm and grabbed at the void. A mysterious runic mark appeared. Zhang Xiaoyaro closed his fingers and pinched the runic mark. Instantly, the runic mark transformed into a battle axe that was held in Zhang Xiaoyao's hand. A terrifying emperor's aura emerged as if it could split open the primordial chaos. That aura made everyone tremble. Many geniuses trembled under the emperor's aura. It was the ancient chaos axe that was formed by the emperor's weapon imprint. Sacred Body of the Ancients. Book 8 3964. Chapter 784. At this moment, Zhang Xiaoyaro was holding the ancient chaos axe. He was like a deity in the myths and legends who created the world. That aura seemed to be able to crush the heavens. The emperor's aura shook the clouds and cloud. Even the entire buried emperor star seemed to be trembling slightly. Gloomy chains of order appeared to prevent unreasonable powers from appearing. The entire buried emperor star was originally a place of inheritance left behind by the ancestors for the future generations. Naturally, it would not allow too powerful forces to appear. That was also the reason why Yu Qingning could not make a move. Now, Jun Xiaoyaro was holding the ancient chaos axe, which had vaguely caused the laws of the buried Emperor Star to suppress it. From this, one could see how powerful Jun Xiaoyao's aura was at this moment. Even the heavens and earth were afraid of it. That is, the ancient Chaos Emperor's imperial weapon, the ancient Chaos Axe. Could it be that the son of God of the Jun family has obtained the inheritance of the ancient Chaos Emperor? All the Sky Prides were stunned and took a deep breath. Not everyone knew that Jun Xiaoyaro had obtained the inheritance of the ancient Chaos Emperor. At this moment, the appearance of the imperial weapon naturally shocked everyone. No, that's not right. Although it has the power of an imperial weapon, it is not real. That is a mark. Soon, some of the Sky Prides reacted. In the buried Emperor Star, if a real imperial weapon was used, it would definitely cause the laws of suppression. Besides, even if an ordinary person obtained an imperial weapon, it would be difficult for them to use it. Even the current Jun Xiaoyaro was unable to bring out the true power of the imperial weapon. Although it is only a mark, it is already terrifying enough, said a Sky Pride with trembling eyes. The imperial weapon mark could borrow a part of the imperial weapon's power. Although it was not much, it was definitely a powerful weapon for cultivators below the 9th level of the Sage Realm. Furthermore, one must not forget that it was Jun Xiaoyaro who had unleashed the imperial armament imprint. With Jun Xiaoyao's terrifying strength, he could fully unleash the power of the imperial weapon mark. This was the most frightening part of it all. Yarou Yuekong's complexion turned deathly pale as he felt the terrifying emperor's might. He had lost all color. Jun Xiaoyaro, who was already invincible, and the imperial weapon mark of the ancient chaos axe. What the F***CK, this is a hell mode boss. Among the younger generation of the Nine Heavens immortal realm, who could possibly stand a chance against Jun Xiaoyaro? Even the two outlawed Sky Prides, Princess Divine Silkworm and Xian Yu, were not enough. This axe strike will let you all understand that you would rather provoke the heavens than provoke me. As soon as Jun Xiaoyaro finished speaking, he activated the divine power in his body and the sacred body of the ancient. The great overarching undying immortal body and the 36 Sumeru worlds were activated. All sorts of dharmic powers and divine abilities were infused into the axe. Jun Xiaoyao's move was to establish his authority. It was better to be enemies with the heavens than with him. As for the people around Jun Xiaoyaro, they were even more untouchable. If they provoked him, they would have to pay the price in blood. Boom. Jun Xiaoyaro held the chaotic ancient axe in his hand and chopped down. Jun Xiaoyao's own strength combined with the emperor's might of the ancient chaos axe. That might was simply indescribable with word. The vast axe light covered the sky and split the heavens. The earth within 10,000 miles was about to split open, and huge cracks that were hundreds of feet deep spread out. The heavens rumbled and the land collapsed. Even the sky above the buried Emperor Star had all sorts of rule runes appearing from time to time. This meant that Jun Xiaoyao's current combat strength was almost about to trigger the suppression of the buried Emperor Star's laws. What kind of fluctuation is that? Could it be that an honorable big shot has violated the buried Emperor Star's laws and entered it? No, there's Emperor's might. Could it be that someone has activated an Emperor weapon? Sky Prides from various continents throughout the buried Emperor Star looked up at the sky, their faces full of shock. Retreat. At the ancient Jade Pool, the Sky Prides from all directions quickly retreated. Even if they were only slightly affected by such an attack, they would lose half their lives. Damn it. Yarou Yuekong's face was distorted as he let out a fierce roar. It was too late to escape now, so he could only fight with his life. Shifter Emperor Descend. Yarou Yukong used the ultimate move of the Shifter Emperor's immortal scripture. The blood in his body boiled and burned as if his entire body was being sacrificed. In the void, a majestic blood-colored Shifter Emperor's shadow appeared. Vaguely, it also emitted a faint Emperor's might. The Shifter Emperor of the Shifter race was also a legendary existence. It was a taboo existence in ancient history. Divine Silkworm 9 transformations. Princess Divine Silkworm also used her trump card. Previously, she naively thought that even if Jun Xiaoyaro was very strong, she could still deal with him calmly. Now, She understood that she was still too young and had not experienced a vicious beating. As for Xian Yu, under the mask, her cold moon-like eyes flashed with a trace of ripples. That was clearly the enemy she should kill, but she hesitated. Boom! The two ultimate moves collided, setting off a storm of magical power. The earth was torn apart, and the mountains collapsed. In the entire ancient jade pool, other than the jade pool that was still intact under the protection of the rune barrier, the other places were in a mess. Many sky prides who had already hidden far away were affected by the shockwaves. They vomited blood and were thrown to the ground. When the immortals fought, the mortals suffered. There was a price to pay for watching the show. After a single move, a 10,000-mile-long canyon appeared on the ground, extending all the way to the horizon. The entire continent was almost split in half by Jun Xiaoyao's axe. This was still under the suppression of the buried Emperor Star's laws. Otherwise, it was not impossible for the entire buried Emperor Star to be split in half. After all, there was already a precedent. The Conqueror Star was split in half by Jun Xiaoyao. After the smoke dissipated, the ground was in a mess. The sky prides who were far away got a little closer. However, the scene they saw made them all fall silent. Yarrow Yuekong's body was covered in blood. His body was in pieces, and he collapsed in a pool of blood. He was almost on his last breath. His devilishly handsome face was now covered in blood, and it was extremely twisted. How is this possible? A thick sense of regret filled Yarrow Yuekong's eyes. If he could do it all over again, he would definitely not have provoked Jiang Shengyi with Princess Divine Silkworm. What was that saying again? A bootlicker would die a horrible death. Men who bootlick women would not have a good ending. A moment later, Yarrow Yukong stopped breathing. His primordial spirit had long been shattered by the ancient chaotic axis fluctuations. On the other side, Princess Divine Silkworm was even more shocking. This was because the originally beautiful Princess Divine Silkworm was no longer there. Instead, it was replaced by a golden silkworm with 9 colored divine halos on its surface. At this moment, this golden silkworm was also covered in injuries. Its pair of big crystal eyes were filled with fear. However, she was severely injured and could not move. This Princess Divine Silkworm was actually beaten back to her original form. All the sky prides were stunned. Jun Xiaoyao had beaten Princess Divine Silkworm back to her original form with a single axe. This was a bit ridiculous. I understand now. Rumor has it that the Divine Silkworm race will activate their defense mechanism when they are on the verge of death and shed their silkworm body. If they can survive, they might continue to transform. Princess Divine Silkworm had already transformed 9 times. If she continues to transform, could she become a 10 transformation Divine Silkworm? Many sky prides were surprised. As a top-notch Archean royalty, the Divine Silkworm race naturally had their unique points. Jun Xiaoyao's axe had directly beaten Princess Divine Silkworm to the brink of death, which triggered the transformation mechanism. I see. Jun Xiaoyao's eyes were indifferent. He didn't care at all. Finally, he looked at Xian Yu again. To his surprise, although Xian Yu was also injured, she was obviously slightly better. As expected of one of the 7 defiant sovereigns. She was indeed different from ordinary sky prides. Jun Xiaoyao's eyes were deep as he said indifferently, refining 10,000 bloodlines into one's body. This path is indeed not bad, but unfortunately, it's going to end today. Jun Xiaoyao's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Looking at Jun Xiaoyao, for some reason, Xian Yu felt a stabbing pain in her heart. Jun Xiaoyao's eyes, which were filled with hostility and murderous intent, were an eyesore to her. She felt inexplicably uncomfortable. Xian Yu clenched her jade-like hands tightly. Her nails pierced her palms and blood dripped down, but she didn't realize it. Chapter 785. Jun Xiaoyao continued to attack, charging at Xian Yu with the ancient axe of chaos in his hand. The resplendent axe light tore through the sky. A single strike of the axe could easily kill a saint. Even a saint king would be half dead. However, Xian Yu was very powerful. As the leader of the 13 bandits, she had walked the path of refining tens of thousands of bloodlines. She seemed to be similar to a certain taboo existence in ancient history. In addition, Xian Yu was one of the 7 defiant sovereigns. She had fused with a seal of proving Tao, which made her strength soar. It could be said that Xian Yu was one of the most powerful cultivators among the younger generation on the ancient road of ultimate. Other than that, the grimace mask had always been of interest to Zhang Xiaoyao. He decided to suppress Xian Yu first and find out all the secrets behind her. Then, he would kill her. The axe aura pierced through the sky, tearing the void apart. Zhang Xiaoyao was like a primordial god from ancient myths, who was about to reopen the world. Under such attacks, Xian Yu was forced to retreat. However, what puzzled everyone was that Xian Yu did not take the initiative to attack. She had been defending herself. What's going on? Many geniuses were puzzled. The immortal slaying bandit's actions were very puzzling. Could it be that she doesn't want to attack because the son of God of the Jun family is so handsome? Someone complained. Impossible. Some geniuses shook their heads seriously. The immortal slaying bandit's methods were cruel and cruel. Previously, she had stabbed her hand into Jiang Shengyi's chest in front of all the geniuses and absorbed the power of the carnate embryo of Tao with a secret technique. How could such a cruel and inhumane girl be so shallow? However, what no one expected was that Xian Yu could not do it because of Zhang Xiaoyao's face. It was not because of how handsome Zhang Xiaoyao was, but because of the similarity between his eyes and eyebrows. Xian Yu kept thinking about the past that she did not want to recall. What's wrong with this woman? Zhang Xiaoyao also felt that something was wrong. She did not seem to want to attack. Instead, she seemed to be hesitating. This was not the behavior of one of the 7 defiant sovereigns. Logically speaking, as one of the 7 defiant emperors, they should be happy to deal with him. Just as Zhang Xiaoyao was about to seal the space with the 4th seal of the immortal prohibition seal, however, Xian Yu suddenly retreated. You want to run now? Zhang Xiaoyao sneered with a playful look in his eyes. He swung the chaotic ancient axe with one hand and punched out the 6 paths of reincarnation fist with the other. The surging waves wanted to destroy everything in front of it, and the space was torn apart. Around Xian Yu's body, all sorts of lights appeared. 5-colored divine light, void ripple, dark light beam, etc. This scene stunned all the sky prides. That is, the power of the 5 elemental Tao bones. There's also the fluctuation of the void emperor physique. That's the ability of the heavenly devil eyes. The multicolored brilliance on Xian Yu's body was a type of physique and the power of her precious blood. Any one of them was enough to create a top-notch heaven's favorite. However, all these innate abilities were concentrated on Xian Yu alone. This path was terrifying to the extreme. Many sky prides came to a realization. Previously, it was rumored that the immortal bandit could kill an outlawed sky prides like eating and drinking. Now, it seemed that it was not an exaggeration at all. Ordinary sky prides would definitely not be able to withstand Zhang Xiaoyao's attacks. Even the supreme outlawed sky prides would be injured. However, Xian Yu only coughed up a mouthful of blood. Blood dripped from under her mask. The void around her cracked. That was the fluctuation of the void emperor physique. Zhang Xiaoyao had encountered such a physique before. Xian Yu's body seemed to have melted into the void, and she quickly retreated. No one who I, the son of God, want to suppress can escape. Zhang Xiaoyao used his Kuan Peng steps and was about to give chase. However, at this moment, Jiang Shengyi shouted, Xiaoyao, wait. Huh! Zhang Xiaoyao stopped in his tracks. Jiang Shengyi must have something to tell him. At this moment, Xian Yu's body disappeared into the spatial crack. Zhang Xiaoyao frowned for a bit, but his frown quickly disappeared. Since Xian Yu had merged with the Emperor's Seal of Doctrine and became one of the 7 defiant sovereigns, she would definitely come looking for him in the future. This was not only due to Xian Yu's own will, but also the immortal domain's will. Since she had benefited and merged with the Emperor's Seal of Doctrine, she would definitely do something. If he didn't do anything, even God wouldn't be able to bear it. It was impossible for him to waste a spot among the 7 rebellious emperors. Therefore, Xian Yu would still come looking for him when the time came. Zhang Xiaoyao was not in a hurry. Sister Shengyi, what's the matter? Zhang Xiaoyao came to Jiang Shengyi. Luo Li. Luo Li entered the gate of life and death. Jiang Shengyi's snow-white clothes were stained with blood. Her face was pale, and she looked very weak. However, she was still worried about Jiang Luoli. She was afraid that something would happen to her. What? Luo Li entered the gate of life and death. Zhun Xiaoyaro was also surprised and frowned. Although this was the first time that Zhun Xiaoyaro had come to the buried Emperor Star, he had heard of the gate of life and death. This was one of the most famous and dangerous opportunities on the buried Emperor Star. Since ancient times, very few geniuses had been able to walk out of it. Zhun Xiaoyaro was reminded of that petite and adorable girl who had never grown tall in 10,000 years. With her personality, why would she enter the gate of life and death? She was forced by Tarantula and the others. Xiaoyao, quickly go and take a look. If something happened to Luo Li, Jiang Shengyi said anxiously. If it wasn't for her serious injuries, she would have gone personally. It was because she could not move that she stopped Zhun Xiaoyaro and asked him to go and take a look. Sister Shengyi, don't be anxious. Don't you believe in Luo Li? Zhun Xiaoyaro was calmer than Jiang Shengyi. If something really happened to Jiang Luoli, Zhun Xiaoyaro might be able to sense it. At the very least, he would feel uneasy. However, that feeling did not appear. This meant that at least for now, Jiang Luoli was not in danger. I believe you, but... Jiang Shengyi wanted to say something, but stopped. Sister Shengyi, don't be anxious. I will go to the gate of life and death to find out Luo Li's whereabouts. She will be fine, Zhun Xiaoyaro comforted. Okay. With Xiaoyaro here, I am relieved. Jiang Shengyi relaxed a little. She also reacted. Jiang Luoli was not the same as before. She shouldn't be in danger. Oh, no wonder Shengyi is so fond of him. My disciple has good taste. He is truly an extraordinary young master. At this time, a slightly illusory figure appeared. Her face was graceful, her eyebrows were picturesque, and her figure was plump. She had a mature and beautiful charm. It was Yu Qingning. Zhun Xiaoyao's eyes dimmed. Ring auntie? No, it should be big sister Ring. Xiaoyaro greets senior. It seems that sister Shengyi has her own destiny. Zhun Xiaoyaro cupped his hands slightly, gentle and elegant. What a lovely little guy. Yu Qingning smiled. At first, Yu Qingning was very curious about the person Jiang Shengyi said she was thinking about day and night. After all, for such an excellent woman like Jiang Shengyi to be able to make her think about him day and night, how outstanding must he be? Until now, when she saw Zhun Xiaoyaro. He had a peerless appearance and incredible combat strength. In Yu Qingning's era, there was no one like him. Even some of the great emperors of the ancient times couldn't compare to Zhun Xiaoyaro when they were young. To be honest, if Zhun Xiaoyaro appeared in Yu Qingning's era, Yu Qingning would definitely fall in love with Zhun Xiaoyao. After all, such an excellent man was rare in the world. I almost forgot something. Senior, Sister Shengyi, please wait a moment. Zhun Xiaoyaro seemed to have thought of something. He turned around and looked at the little thing on the ground that was struggling to escape. Zhun Xiaoyaro went forward and picked it up. It was Princess Divine Silkworm who had been beaten back to her original form. The whole book. Chapter 786. At this moment, Princess Celestial Silkworm had turned into a chubby golden silkworm. Her big eyes were filled with fear as she struggled between Zhun Xiaoyao's fingers. Zhun Xiaoyao, let go of me. Although the golden silkworm couldn't speak, she could release her divine will. Looking at the Princess Divine Silkworm, who had been beaten back to her original form and was being toyed with by Zhun Xiaoyao, all the geniuses present had complicated feelings. Princess Divine Silkworm, the famous 9 transformations celestial silkworm, who was revered as a goddess by countless people, had been reduced to such a state in front of Zhun Xiaoyao. How could the word miserable be enough? She was really being played by Zhun Xiaoyao, and it wasn't an exaggeration. Let go of you. You forced Sister Shengyi into such a miserable state and you still want to be forgiven? Zhun Xiaoyao smiled. His smile meant that the situation wasn't good for the enemy. Zhun Xiaoyao, you have already provoked enough enemies. Do you want to add another Divine Silkworm Valley? Princess Divine Silkworm transmitted her divine will. Zhun Xiaoyao sighed and shook his head with a smile. What he didn't care about the least was the threat from the background. Jun Xiaoyaro slowly closed his fingers. Princess Divine Silkworm instantly felt an overwhelming pressure crushing down on her, and her silkworm body was about to explode. This feeling was just like in the myths and legends, where a certain demon tribe stone monkey was suppressed by the five-finger mountain formed by the 5 fingers of a supreme mythical emperor of the Buddhist lineage. Jun Xiaoyao, stop. What do you want? Princess Divine Silkworm screamed with her divine will. She couldn't bear such a humiliating death. She was squashed to death by Jun Xiaoyaro like a bug. What should I do? Jun Xiaoyaro was also pondering. At this moment, a dense group of figures appeared in the distant sky again. They were led by Ascendant King, Yu Yunchang, and the others. Brother Jun, you are really fast. It seems like I missed another good show. Ascendant King was wearing a snow-white crane cloak. Even his shoes and socks were white. His silver hair fluttered in the wind, and he looked very handsome. Yu Yunchang, who was at the side, blinked her eyes and looked at the mess in front of her. She was very curious about what she had missed. It's Ascendant King. I didn't expect to see so many top-notch monsters today, the Sky Prides exclaimed. That silkworm in your hand, could it be? Ascendant King looked at Jun Xiaoyao's palm and was stunned for a moment. Just a naughty little bug, Jun Xiaoyaro said as he pinched Princess Divine Silkworm's body. Ah! Princess screamed with her divine will. It was unimaginable that she would lose her composure. With her personality, it was simply too humiliating to be called a bug by Jun Xiaoyaro. Not only that, but she was also being toyed with and touched all over her body. Although it was, she could still had senses. And, she was. At this moment, Princess Divine Silkworm wanted to die. If the one beside me wasn't that trash Yaro Yukong, but someone like Jun Xiaoyao, how could I have lost so miserably? Princess Divine Silkworm thought in her heart. For a moment, she was a little envious and jealous of Jiang Shengyi. She was lucky to have such a powerful man protecting her. Ascendant King learned about what had happened from the Sky Prides. His handsome face was stunned for a moment before he shook his head with a bitter smile. It's really tragic to offend Brother Jun. As for Yu Yunchang, her eyes were flickering with splendor. Jun Xiaoyaro had just defeated the 10 princes of Jinwu and the others. Now, he had defeated the immortal extermination bandit, Princess Divine Silkworm, and the others. Was he really invincible on the ancient road? Even the supreme taboo couldn't stop Jun Xiaoyao's attacks. Beauties loved heroes. Furthermore, Jun Xiaoyaro could no longer be described as a mere hero. He was an unparalleled legend. Yu Yunchang's eyes were filled with love, and her heart was thumping wildly. Previously, she had fallen in love at first sight and was a little tempted. At the moment, she was completely captivated by Jun Xiaoyao's charm. At this moment, Yu Yunchang, who was immersed in her fantasy, was awakened by the cold reality. Sister Shengyi, you can decide. Princess Divine Silkworm. Jun Xiaoyaro walked to Jiang Shengyi's side and said gently. Yu Yunchang's beautiful face was a little dazed. This was the first time she heard Jun Xiaoyaro speak to someone with such a gentle voice. In her heart, Jun Xiaoyaro had always been a cold and aloof moonlight. He was high and mighty, and she felt that he was unreachable. Yu Yunchang followed the voice and saw a peerless beauty in a blood-stained white robe. Even though they were both women, Yu Yunchang's beautiful eyes were filled with amazement. Jiang Shengyi's eyes were clear, and her face was as beautiful as a painting. Her paleness and weakness didn't diminish her charm. Instead, it added a bit of heart-wrenching beauty. Not to mention men, even a woman like Yu Yunchang would feel pity for her. She is the goddess of the Jiang family. She is indeed as beautiful as the rumors say, Yu Yunchang said absent-mindedly. Sigh, you silly girl. Feather King patted Yu Yunchang's shoulder. As a brother and sister, how could he not see through Yu Yunchang's intentions? However, Feather King had to admit that Jun Xiaoyaro was indeed outstanding. It was reasonable for his sister to be attracted to him. However, Feather King sighed inwardly. On the other side, Jun Xiaoyaro handed the fate of Princess Divine Silkworm to Jiang Shengyi. Although Jiang Shengyi hated Princess Divine Silkworm for her scheming and adding insult to injury, she was still a Princess Divine Silkworm. However, She was still the princess of the divine Silkworm Valley. If Jun Xiaoyaro were to kill her, he would undoubtedly make another enemy. Although Jun Xiaoyaro didn't care, Jiang Xingyi wasn't willing to cause trouble for Jun Xiaoyaro. "Why don't we let her off this time?" Jiang Xingyi suggested. Jun Xiaoyao's expression didn't change. He knew that Jiang Xingyi wasn't a saint. She just didn't want to cause trouble for him. At this point, Jiang Xingyi was still wholeheartedly thinking for him. As for Princess Divine Silkworm in Jun Xiaoyao's hand, she was a little surprised. This woman. Princess Divine Silkworm fell silent. She didn't expect Jiang Xingyi to actually say that she would let her off. For a moment, Princess Divine Silkworm had a complicated feeling in her heart. Jun Xiaoyaro naturally wouldn't let Princess Divine Silkworm off so easily. His eyes flickered as he thought of something. Why don't Big Sister Xingyi plant a slave imprint on her? A 9 transformations celestial silkworm with the potential to continue evolving is qualified to be a pet. Treat it as atonement for her own sins. Jun Xiaoyao's words immediately stunned everyone. Good Lord, planting a slave imprint on Princess Divine Silkworm. Did he really not treat a supreme outlawed Skypride as a human? Oh, Princess Divine Silkworm wasn't a human to begin with. That was fine. Brother Jun's idea is really, strange. The Ascendant Monarch was also a little embarrassed. No one else would treat a supreme outlawed Skypride as a pet. Jiang Xingyi pursed her lips and smiled. She thought of Jun Xiaoyao's habit of taking in slaves when he was in the Huangtian mystic realm. Although he usually only took in beautiful female slaves. However, Jiang Xingyi didn't refuse. She wasn't a saint. She naturally had to pay the price for her wrongdoings. You only have 2 choices now. Die, or release the primordial spirit restriction and let Big Sister Xingyi plant a slave imprint on you, Jun Xiaoyaro said indifferently. Princess Divine Silkworm's main body trembled. She knew that if she dared to say no, Jun Xiaoyaro would definitely kill her. In the entire 9 heavens and 10 earths, there was no one that Jun Xiaoyaro wouldn't dare to kill. I'm willing, Princess Divine Silkworm said in humiliation and released the primordial spirit restriction. Jiang Xingyi also condensed a slave imprint and planted it. Princess Divine Silkworm paid the price for her actions and became Jiang Xingyi's pet. Jiang Xingyi could decide her life and death with a single thought.